Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to more Equestria at War, where we are continuing to try and defeat the malcontent remnants of the Equestrian army, which has proven to us yet again that mercy is a weakness for which we will be punished. If we had simply executed all of them immediately, we would not be in our current predicament. But due to our merciful ways and our intent to allow the ponies to actually live, well, now we have to deal with rebellions, don't we? Much silliness. Oh well. There we go. I am in character now. Sadly, I haven't actually animated the joke, but, you know, I'm almost thinking about it. I need a nice, quick, cheap artist to just make little dumbass joke drawings for me. I was looking at Gladiator quotes. Death smiles at every pony, and all a pony can do is smile back after all. I am growing to enjoy this joke. Especially considering the fact that Gladiator 2 is looking like a rather massive joke in and of itself. Oh boy. That's coming out this year, right? I think so. I think that's coming out this year. I'll just leave that down there for the time being. I think Gladiator 2 is coming out this year. I'm wondering, like, are we going to see a movie that will beat Borderlands? That's what I'm wondering. Because we've already kind of beaten out Madam Web. People are like, oh, Madam Web's going to be the worst movie this year, by far. Well, no, as it turns out. Borderlands swoops in and seizes that prize right underneath Borderlands' little schnauzer. And it grabs a hold of it with both hands as well. Very, very firmly, very solidly. It's got a determined grip around the title of worst movie this year. It would be kind of wonderful. Why is it so dark over here? It would be kind of wonderful if somehow Gladiator 2 could come in and usurp that title. Ah, yes, I read these. So, I was told that you really basically need to go down one line of these. You can't, like, do a little bit of each. That's apparently a really bad idea. So I'll cheat a little bit there, with foreknowledge. We was Romans and shit. Yes. And yes, by the way, the N does stand for Norwegian. Duh. What else could it possibly stand for, you silly little tards? Obviously the N stands for Norwegian. Whatever even could be the possible alternative, silly chat. What was I doing? Alright, I really need, like, modern cannons, don't I? How far am I when getting, like, better... 3 years for better engines. Oh boy, okay. We can hold off on upgrading the tanks then for quite a bit longer, because I'm not really in a warfaring position right now, so... we don't need to worry too much about that. I do want to start getting to work on Marines and paratroopers, but it's not like I'm in a position to actually recruit any of them with my manpower malaise currently bothering my little butthole, so we'll wait for that too. Experimental helicopters, that's nice. Oh, what was the name of the German? Hold on. The Germans made a helicopter during World War II. What's the name of it?
Service guarantees citizenship.
Flettner. Autogyro, developed during the 1930s. Yeah, Flettner, I think. And actually they developed several, apparently. Jesus. Yeah, the Germans were the first ones, I believe, to develop, like, a military-use helicopter. I think Sikorsky was the first one to actually make a helicopter full stop. I think it was Sikorsky. So Lixon Doppelganger, the UK needs to boog, but does it? Does it require the Boog? Must Boog come all the way from Mexico to instruct the English? Ah, the Equestrian Penal Service Corps. I like the sound of this. The knock on his door took General Major Yak's attention away from the reports on his desk. Come in, he said, taking the opportunity to stretch and work some of the stiffness out of his joints. Oberstleutnant Alkip stepped through the opening door, quickly saluting the General Major. The representatives from the EPSC are here, General Major, she said. Shall I send them in? Yak sighed and rubbed a hoof to his temple. How he had been dreading this meeting all day. I'd rather you didn't, but I don't have much choice in the matter, he said, eventually dismissing her with a wave of his hoof, as Al-Kippy slipped away to fetch the representatives. Al-Kippy is still working for us, even though she's in charge of... No, that's Lilac. Watch out. Aww. Oh, cutie Lilac. Slipped away to fetch the representatives. Yak sifted through the papers on his desk until he pulled out the Equestrian Penal Service Corps. Recommendation for how to use equestrian prisoners of war, dissidents and conscripted civilians in furthering the economic interests of the hives. Once again, even briefly glancing through the callous proposal made his blood boil, but he tried not to let that emotion show as Aklip knocked on the door again and opened it for the representatives to enter. He was an officer of the hair, and a person second. It was best to maintain that decorum. But that didn't stop him from chastening the changelings in front of him before they could even sit down. I read through your proposal, representatives, he said, tapping the piece of paper on his desk, and I have to say I am disappointed in your behavior towards these ponies. Harsh quotas for labor camps enforced with physical violence and torture. No guarantees for necessities like food, water, and shelter. The seizure of any accused property without trial or due process. If I didn't know any better, representatives, I'd be led to believe that you intended to make yourselves into communists. The harsh confrontation stopped the two representatives in their tracks, until the shorter, fatter bug, who Yax felt looked remarkably like a maggot stuffed full with rotting flesh, put on a disarming smile and rubbed his hooves together. It is not what ponies deserve. What do we get an Major? Changeling said. They dared to stand up to us during the war. Their soldieries killed... soldieries? Their soldieries? The choice of words here. Killed thousands upon thousands of loyal changeling infantry. They had the audacity to cling to their useless principles instead of accepting the right of our rule. Why should they deserve anything other than labor and servitude for their defiance? After all, it is what our queen wants of them. Though I suppose she left the final decision up to you, didn't she, General Major? And on that note, I need to go clear my nose. Be back in a moment.
Service guarantees citizenship.
Ah, disgusting nasal noises. I should not eat shortly before streaming. It congests the entire infrastructure. They have at least some rights. As victors who must to the defendant, whom are now under our stewardship, they shall earn their redemption through work. Local factories plus 10. Plus 10% for only 3 regions is not worth the obvious problems this is going to cause, no. That is obviously going to cause a lot more problems than it is going to do good. Ah, Trixie! We're gonna hunt down Starlight Glimmer? Ow. Ow. Fine, we'll hunt down Best Pony. Blaystone, Archer's Brony and Furry Arc continues. Should we start a GoFundMe for your fursuit? Also, do you think a well-written Borderlands TV show or movie would be better? Hail Arch and Witcher. Alright, Witcher. Yeah, I forgot to put that up today. Right, I'll just make notes of it in the background. I mean, it couldn't possibly be any worse. It could not be worse than the television show, so... There is that. That is a benefit, but... I don't know, like, they fucked it up that bad with the TV show. I don't see them magically fucking it up somehow less bad with a television show, with even more time on their hands. I kind of feel like we would just get the bad jokes, but stretched out over an even longer period of time, so, I feel like it would be a nightmarish situation regardless, frankly. Deluxe on Doppelganger, which pony was the lesbian? I would guess Trixie. Trixie and Starlight Glimmer. I think they're the closest likely to be lesbians, because they were very, very good friends. Very good friends. Extinguish the lodestar. Oh, there's going to be multiple loud nasal cleaning noises today. I can feel it. Your Majesty, I receive urgent news that requires your attention. Queen Chrysalis lazily raised an eyebrow as General Major Yax approached her seat on the balcony overlooking Canterlot. What is it, General Major? She asked, not even bothering to look at the changeling. With her luck, it was probably some useless complaint about how the ponies were being treated too harshly, and the garrison should take a step back. The General Major was becoming too much of a pony sympathizer, she felt. Changes might need to be made soon. It is an urgent transmission of human operatives in Bales, Yax answered, her unaware of her inward thoughts. A key resistance figure, codenamed Lodestar, will be personally presented in the city to oversee a major operation. The pony's real name is Starlight Glimmer. Best pony. Chrysalis' eyes widened and she turned to Yax with rapt attention. Starlight Glimmer, best pony, will be in Bales? She asked, a menacing grin forming on her muzzle. The personal student of Twilight Sparkle, not best pony, although autistic pony. She's the one behind all this chaos. Where is she? I will see to it that she is personally destroyed. Better yet, I will do it myself. Yax took a step back and shared a concerned look with Queen's guard, Captain Cardo, who was also nearby. My queen, Lassin cautioned, your loyal and loving subject will certainly not begrudge you your desire to see the pony eliminated. But all it takes is a pony with a rifle in the right spot. Nonsense, Chrysalis proclaimed, standing up. Starlight Glimmer, best pony, is Twilight Sparkle's protege. She's too dangerous to let be. She must be stopped. No, God. Do not kill my beloved Chrysalis. I will harm you if you try to kill my poor little Chrysalis. Just in case. But we shall not stop Chrysalis from doing her thing. Go, Chrysalis! Whenever I let Chrysalis have her way, that is, like, universally a bad thing. I don't think there's been a single decision in the game so far that has turned out better for allowing Chrysalis to do whatever the hell Chrysalis has her mind to do. So this is almost certainly a terrible, terrible mistake. But, you know, she's gotta have some fun sometimes, right? Also, I feel like, slowly but surely, I am beginning to win this naval war out here, which makes me quite happy. Quite happy indeed. Caleb Knight, is Pony War funny? Yes. Do I want other funny content? Yes. Modernity has become a race to the bottom, hasn't it? Witcher and Kick Dev, so on. And, Caleb Knight again, I sense treachery afoot. Be careful, Archibald. Magic duel. Oh boy. Well, I mean, oh, right. That's right. Yeah. No. She lost that fight, didn't she? Yes. The door to abandoned building's basement blew inwards with concussive force, and the two ponies standing guard next to it barely had time to react before green magic seized their throats and smashed their skulls together, knocking them out immediately. Starlight, best pony. Starbright, where's the pony I want to fight? Queen Chrysalis sang, striding through the doorframe and setting her magic to work, savaging the other ponies around her. In the blink of an eye, 8 resistance ponies were dead or dying as the Queen's magic tore through them, and the other ponies in the room ran for their lives or their weapons, falling back to better position as the changeling soldiers funneled into the room behind her. All save for one pony, that was. The pink unicorn stood her ground in the center of the room. The strap on her pistol's holster snapped open, and a blue magical glow around her horn. Starlight Glimmer, best pony, sneered at Queen Chrysalis and had the audacity to walk closer to her. The queen of the changelings? Here? I'm honored, she taunted, her sneer turning into a smirk. Come to take me down yourself? I've come to end Twilight Sparkle's legacy, Queen Chrysalis growled. Her nation is in tatters, and her friends are scattered. All that is left is you. There's a lot more than me, Starlight said, cracking her neck and rolling her shoulders, but I don't mind stepping up to the plate if I have to. Oh boy, was this a terrible, terrible mistake? It might have been a terrible, terrible mistake. The Guards Kampfhund. Magic duel! The two mares immediately lunged for each other, magic flying off their horns as their spells tore the room asunder. The changeling soldiers at once ducked for cover and fell back as the magic ripped through the air, and the resistance ponies took the opportunity to scramble away and out of the building. Chrysalis's green magic sliced through a support column, sending debris flying like a concrete shotgun, and Starlight Glimmer teleported to safety before the detritus could flatten her. She responded with several quick bursts of energy from her horn, which Chrysalis deflected with a shield before drawing her pistol and firing a few shots at the changeling queen as she twirled away. Chrysalis lunged for Starlight after rounding a column, and the unicorn backpedaled to stay away, spells flying from her horn and causing tremendous damage to the surrounding room, and whipping up a screen of dust. Yet when Chrysalis dashed through the dust, Starlight, the best pony, was nowhere to be seen. "You looking for me?" Starlight appeared at the far end of the room, her chin held high in a taunting look as Chrysalis snarled at her. "Come here, Starlight," the best pony, Chrysalis shouted, already flying through the room towards her. "You can't escape me." "Why not?" Starlight said, her magic gripping the remaining two support columns in the middle of the room. "Maybe we can bury this and come back to it later." Then she pulled, and the columns crumbled right as Chrysalis passed them. The building rumbled, dust fell from the ceiling, and before Chrysalis could do anything, the building collapsed in on the basement, dumping thousands of pounds of concrete and steel onto the changeling queen and the soldiers inside. Is this how it ends? Nah, Chrysalis is pretty tough. Oh, no second prancers. Chrysalis humiliated. I fucking knew that. It's never a good idea to let Chrysalis have her way with anything. It was several hours before rescue crews managed to dig through the rubble to find her, but soon enough Queen Chrysalis saw the light of the sky above and heard the voice of the changelings around her through the days. "We found her," Summoning exclaimed, and she cuffed and black forelimbs hooked around her legs and gingerly pulled her free. Her vision was blurry, and her horn ached from creating a shield to save herself from the worst of the collapsing building. But she was alive, and that was all that mattered. Summoning offered her some water, which she greedily took, and the rescue crew walked her away from the disaster zone as the soldiers surrounding the property cheered. They sat down a safe distance away and started asking her questions, but she ignored them all for a question of her own. "Starlight Glimmer," best pony, she croaked, her throat dry and sore from inhaling concrete dust for so long. "Is she dead?" Unfortunately, the changelings shook their heads. Starlight and the rest of the resistance in bales fled during the collapse, one of them said. "We were more concerned with trying to dig you out than go after her. You're going to need to take it easy for a few weeks, Your Majesty. Your exoskeleton is cracked and your carapace took a beating." Chrysalis groaned and twisted her torso left and right, feeling the broken plates of her carapace grind against each other. "Aye, yes, you're right," she admitted, grimacing through the pain, as medics brought on scene quickly tended to the rest of her injuries. Chrysalis could only scowl at the city around her. She declared then and there that she hated the city of Bales, and she hated the mayor who had dropped one of its buildings on her even more. Right, we have learned our lesson now. Never allow Chrysalis to do what Chrysalis wants to do. A valuable lesson indeed. Am I building nukes? I'm building nukes. Good. Build more radar. I need more radar. Sigh. Silly, silly, silly little Chrysalis. Too eager by half. That's the problem. That's the issue. She just needs to calm down a little bit. Very important. I wish these things would tell me if I get the points, by the way, because what I really need to do is apparently focus on the these, suppress the resistance points, but I don't know what the hell they actually belong to, so it's pretty much pure guesswork. Alright, Guards Kampfhund. Meritocratic promotion. A nice dinner, Principish conditional. Suppression bonus, recognition, weight. Well, that one's looked good. Alright. The Golden Ling of the Queen's Guard. General Major Yax poured himself a glass of scotch as he settled onto his lounging chair he'd ordered for his office. The day was almost over, and thankfully things had calmed down a bit around Canterlot, so he didn't have as much work as he usually did. Therefore it was the perfect time for a glass of scotch, and to casually review the files of some changelings recommended for promotion. It was a welcome change of pace from trying to put out fires all over Equestria. As he opened up the file at the top of his stack, however, he noticed that the file was earmarked with a letter of approval straight from the Queen's Guard itself. Frowning, Yex took a closer look at the young lieutenant's file, eyes scanning over the notes compiled for him. At every instance, this young lieutenant, a bug by the name of Glossius Sicarius, was the model changeling officer. Patriotic, dashing, bold, and by all accounts successful and competent. But then there were other notes included by changelings outside of the Queen's Guard. Lieutenant Sicarius had a reputation for being bold to the point of reckless, and was noted a radical changeling supremacist. Tell me no more, I already understand. What really got Yak's attention, however, was the dearth of information about Glossier's activities as an infiltrator behind Equestrian lines during the last days of the war. Reports on significant actions were simply missing, and reports there were had been heavily redacted. Yak sighed. The missing information was clearly suspicious, but what else did he expect from the Queen's Guard? Command power, political power. This is so obviously a basically, when you're playing these guys, just assume that whenever the option is that, bad stuff, it's like, basically, you gotta think like the villain and then do the opposite. Kerev Knight, thanks Chrysalist. Now the royalist mandate of heaven is wounded. Archibald, how are you going to fix this foresighted lord and master of the bridge god? By never again allowing her to have her way. Well, put him on probation for 90 days then. Arnos Fowl, I am Kato Sicarius. Oh my god, he's probably evil. He was probably raping and fucking changelings or painting ponies behind the front lines, guaranteeably. I promise you, he was doing things to them that even Dev would look at with deep suspicion. And Dev set up a prisoner of war forced rape camp during the Vampire RP. I just want to remind you of that. So, when I say something even Dev would consider to be a bit much, you know that that is a potential chance. You know that forced rape camps are within the realms of possibility. Charlie the Beagle, best depiction of fascism and communism in media? You know what? Unironically, yes. Institutionalized incompetence that somehow, through sheer chance and bloody-minded determination, continues to come out ahead. That is, in essence, what we're looking at here. Jetsons Naval Fins. That sounds good. Alright, the name of God, we go to heaven.
Service guarantee.
Nip it in the bud. General Major Yak stepped into the changeling restaurant that had recently opened in Canterlot and made his way to the back, where another changeling was waiting. He had admitted he was happy, but that more changelings were finally setting up business in Canterlot. It would be nice to get some food from back home, though the food that Tasty Treats served had really been growing on him lately. Also, since you're there, Maximus, do you like my VTuber avatar? Do you like it? It's really basic, I admit. And yet it's sort of a VTuber avatar. Not animated and doesn't move or anything, and has no tracking, but you know, it's a thing. You gotta admit, I can now join the ranks of VTubers now that I'm keeping to bring so many on the Maya show as well. The other changelings looked up as Jack approached, and he grinned. Help. And grinned. General Major, it's been too long, he said, holding out a hoof. Jason chuckled and shook the offered hoof. How? How do you shake hooves? How do you shake hooves? Never mind. Yax chuckled and shook the offered hoof. Oh, drop the titles, will you, friend? We haven't had a chance to talk in months, and the first thing out of your mouth is General Major. You just reminded me of how far we've come from being bunkmates back in basic. Arca's friend laughed as Jax sat down across him. Oh, those were the days, weren't they? Getting into trouble behind the sergeant back, being forced to stand watch in the rain. Some things I remember more fondly, Jack said, shaking his head. Oh, and if you'll forgive me for ignoring what I just said, congratulations on the promotion, Oberst Vren. The Heer needs more officers like you. And I'm sure you pulled the strings to make it happen, didn't you? Vren asked. And at that Jax could only coyly smile. Vren had a chuckle at that, then sighed and rubbed a hoof to the base of his horn. Well, the Heer needs more lings like us. Queen's Guard is becoming more radical by the day, which I'm sure you can attest to. Some ling has to keep them in check, and I guess it falls to us to shovel the horse apples, doesn't it? Unfortunately, yes, Jack said, but hopefully the two of us together can keep them under control.
Service guarantee citizen.
Excelsius, have you seen the new info on the Yasuke controversy? Apparently the Japanese government did an investigation and couldn't find anything on Yasuke, not even in the archive. Lockley made everything up. Would not surprise me. God, could you chill with the fucking events on for just a moment? Like, there's two per everything. Just calm down. And I'm still not getting any of those damn suppression points. It's a little annoying that you have to just guess where they are. Like, oh, where's the suppression points? God only knows. Dizwiz, didn't we just cyclone a torpedo this planet? I hope so. And Almost, don't worry, I have one in the works for you. Unless it's a giant white gorilla, or my special pony. I will reject it. The things we do for love. Disturbing reports have reached us about an equestrian town that was recently visited by members of the Queen's Guard in western Equestria. The company, upon arriving at the town, immediately rounded up all the civilians present and brought them to the town square under threats of violence. Once there, the ponies were led off one by one into the local doctor's office, where they were forcibly drained of every last ounce of love in their bodies, until they were little but withered husks. Like squeezing juice from a lemon. Oh boy. Their bodies were found in an open pit behind the town, an undignified mass grave from nearly 100 innocent civilians. Changeling and opponents alike throughout the Hive have been left horrified by the news, with many expressing their outrage against the Queen's Guard itself. General Oberst Laken Carro, captain of the Queen's Guard, defended the action of his soldiers, claiming that they needed love just like any other changelings, and placing the blame on the opponents of Equestria not being more compliant with ongoing love harvesting techniques. Alright, so I need to do more of the love harvesting thingies too, but I was really hoping to get some more suppression points before I need to go down this, but I should get the Seattle protocol up and running at least. Try and keep things a little bit more calm, perhaps. Water entry fins. A Japanese invention, by the way. Invented, well, through necessity, straight up, during the attack on Pearl Harbor. See, the Pearl Harbor, if you will, was too shallow for torpedoes. New Maryland? The Fall of Sunset? Oh! Oh, hello there. Biccolini, are you helping me out, buddy? Biccolini to the rescue! Thank you, Biccolini. Yes, crush those vile, filthy shits. Do destroy them. Thank you, Biccolini. Good boy. What was I on about? Oh, yes. The harbor, Pearl Harbor, was too shallow, so that when the torpedo detached from the aircraft, it would plump into the ocean floor and bury itself before arming. That was a pretty big problem, and so they figured out how to add ablative wooden fins. So there would be a pair of wooden fins designed to break off on the underside of the torpedo. That way, when it hit the waters, the wooden fin would, extend the surface area, slow the descent of the torpedo, then the fins would break off on impact after slowing the torpedo, and voila! You had an opportunity, you had the chance to actually launch torpedo attacks even within the shallow harbor of Pearl Harbor. Anti-partisan saturation. These failures will not stand, the Queen's Guard Captain Lacco Cardo growled, pacing back and forth in front of General Major Yak's desk. We were supposed to bring Trixie Lulamoon and Starlight Glimmer to heel. At the very least, we should have put a bullet in one of them. They're elusive, I'll give them that, Yak said, shrugging. We were close, but sometimes luck doesn't fall our way. Forget luck, Captain Cordo exclaimed. We're changelings. We'll make our own luck. The captain dug into his vest pocket and placed a paper stamped with the royal seal in Yak's desk. I have the Queen's authorization to mobilize the entirety of the Heir to crush this resistance. Every city, every town, every homestead will have soldiers to observe and enforce her laws. There will not be a single piece through all of Equestria where these partisans can hide. We'll use everything we have, the entire army if we have to hunt these traitors down and hang them all. Really? No crucifixion? Yax could only stare in disbelief at the changeling in front of him. Do you understand how impossible that order is, Captain? It could never be done. We'd have to end infiltration operation just to get enough changelings to fulfill this order. There's no guarantee it will even work. Fortune favors the bold, General Mayor, and the hair is nothing if not bold. -10. Required garrison 25%. 90 days. Compliance growth speed. I've actually got the pony power to do this, so let's increase the garrison, and that will reduce my attrition, at least for a period of time. Good on you, Piccolini, my darling, dear little, pretty little Piccolini boy. My beautiful little Piccolini. My little pretty Piccolini here. We are going to reward your favorable actions. We are going to give you a whole ass load of random guns that I've got sitting in my inventory. Here, have some trains too. Like, I love you, little Piccolini. You are a friend to the hell. Here. I'll even give you some oil. There you go. There you go, Piccolini. There you go. And thank you for your valuable service to the changeling cause. Under mounting pressure from occupying forces, the Commonwealth of New Merlin's overseas allies have acquiesced to the demands to cede the country to the enemy. Yes. Yes, good. Good, Piccolini, good. What a fine little Piccolini you are. Truly. Truly a friend and ally of the cause. And now, I've got submarines. Lovely. Submarines? No. I don't have submarines. I don't have a single submarine. I have destroyers. That was the word I was looking for. Does that end the war? Am I... No, I'm still at war with Arisen, Kiropetron, and other random stuff. Okay, well, at least the worst of it in New Maryland is dealt with, so that's something. It's a thing, it's a start, it's a beginning, and all of those things. Yeah, give me hard points. Alright, I should start production of some new pattern destroyers as well.
Fire is the answer.
ASW Mark II. Let's see, what shall we call that today? Excelsius. As we've already got a Blaze Stone. Right, ASW patrol ships should be relatively cheap. We're obviously going to need the best possible sonars. We don't need engines on ASW ships. That is an unnecessary luxury, but obviously we do need some serious depth charges. There you go. Triple depth charges, beautiful. And a little cancer icon, yes. Right, ASW, Excelsiuses. Start producing those there. Double production. And we're going to need fleet destroyers, which will of course be the exact opposite. Dum-dum explosive. Right, so what we got? Top tier radar, top tier fire control, and dual purpose main batteries. Yes. Torpedo launchers, do I even... I suppose we should. See, torpedoes, by and large, were actually kind of fucking worthless. You know what? No, fuck it. We don't need torpedoes. Fuck the torpedoes. Torpedoes were actually just garbage. Just actually unironic garbage. Throughout pretty much the entirety of the war. Even the Japanese, who put by far the most effort into their torpedoes, were terrible at them. The success rate of torpedo impacts were virtually non-existent. And the Japanese put a lot of effort into it. They even developed new firing torpedo techniques and, you know, calculation ways to try and get hits. They had the best drilled captains in the war on dealing with torpedoes. And the Japanese, even with the Longlands oxygen torpedo, barely scored any hits. The torpedo, up until the point where they became homing, were useless. Besides when fired from submarines, and in that case, it wasn't because the torpedo was good, it was because the ship being attacked didn't know it was being fucking attacked until the torpedoes thudded against the hull. And even then, there was a 50-50 chance it would do just that, go thud, and then bounce off. And these will be Kalev class, because I think he's the next on the list. Battle Destroyer Kalev class. Yeah, torpedoes were just garbage. Torpedoes were, by and large, just actually unironic garbage. Not to mention the countless problems with actually making them work. Oh, God. The Germans had a fair bit of problems as well. You know, they had a large number of duds to begin with. But at least the German torpedoes could usually be made to work. If properly maintained, I remember this one last time. If properly maintained, a German torpedo had like a 80% detonation chance, which might not sound that great, but believe you me, for torpedoes at the time, that was actually really, really good. That was actually really, really good. Permanent zero speed, 5 garrison retention, require garrison plus 5. That's great, yes. Pawnee Volunteer Corps. 60 days though, it's kind of long. Friendship is conditional just because that sounds funny. I like the sound of it. It's got a cute name. We have captured ourselves a zebra. Good for us, maybe. I don't know. Are zebras good? Are zebras bad? I think zebras are our enemies, actually. Bomb. Bomb. Yes, bomb. Seattle protocols prove efficient. Lovely. Let's see. Stability. Yeah, my stability is garbage. Absolute terrible stability. And sadly, I don't have any good way to, Okay, that one. Factory output, minus 10%. I'll take that. That's fine. Let's boost that stability up a little bit. In fact, I should have been doing that a lot more often. Kalev Knight, considered gene targeting. Wait, free labor? Never mind. Gene targeting? Ooh. Like custom-made little monkeypoxes, for example, to clear out some of the more dubious parts of the population. An intriguing proposition, no doubt. That will be the population suppressant of the future, I guarantee it. Zero, more ponies, as good a birthday present as any. Oh, congratulations on your birthday, Zero. Charlie the Beagle, what is the most accurate depiction of fascism and communism in media? And your recommendations? You know, kind of this mod, but Man in the High Tower, I'd say, is a fairly decent representation. It misses the point of, like, socialism, by and large, but it does a relatively good job of it. Relatively good job of it. So I would recommend Man in the High Tower, but I would also basically say, whenever the Resistance is on screen, just skip. Because the Resistance is boring. The Resistance is not interesting. The heroes are garbage. It's the Nazis that are cool. I forgot about the name of the like main Nazi dude officer. He's actually got a great story. I love his character arc as he goes from a true believer in fascism down to a doubting one, and eventually to going like, okay, Germany is no longer the solution for America. I have to become the solution. And he's actually got good plots, and he's got actual like opposition against him. When he pulls something off, you're at the seat of your goddamn pants like, there is no way he's pulling this shit off. And yet he kekakudoris it. Whereas the rebels, fuck. We know they're gonna win. They're predestined to win, so who cares? Sky Strange, speaking of ponies, ever read the Cupcakes fanfic? No, I haven't. The changeling Equestrian Treaty of Alliance and Friendship. General Major Yax observed the approach of the Equestrian High Command with narrowed eyes. These were the ponies he had fought against in the Great War. Their strategies that he and the rest of the Heir had to overcome, or at least some of them were. Most of the actual Equestrian High Command had fled or gone into hiding when the nations collapsed. And the generals standing before him were barely more than toadies elevated their position by subservience to the hegemony. Never was that more obvious than today, where Queen Chrysalis had ordered that the Royal Guard and the Equestrian High Command sign a treaty with the hegemon forming Equestria's perpetual alliance and friendship towards their conquerors. It was a farce he knew about, as legitimate as any drone shapeshifting into the Queen herself and proclaiming that the hegemony was now theirs to rule, but the legitimacy didn't matter much when the same hoof that created the treaty wrote the history books. Yax's mood didn't improve during the celebration afterwards, if one could call it that. He had important work that needed to finish, and the last thing he wanted to do was mingle with Chrysalis and her Queen's Guard. All that would accomplish would be straining his patience listening to the suck-ups try to smother the Queen with platitudes and compliments for hours on end. Instead, he hung around the fringes of the party when he noticed a pony watching him from a few steps away. "What is it?" Yax asked, barely even looking at the pony. "Is there something I can help you with?" The pony flinched, surprised that Yax had acknowledged him, and cleared his throat. Well, you were present at the sighting today, weren't you, sir?" "I was, unfortunately," Yax groaned. He turned to face the pony. "What about it?" After looking as if worried that he was being watched, the pony closed the distance between the two. "Do you really think that there can ever be true friendship between our species?" he asked. "Or is this all just for a show with no truth to it?" Compliance protection of +1. I mean, that's the one I want, because that'll give me... Where's the compliance thing again? Compliance. The master and the slave. God. See, that's the evil one. And we know that the evil ones are always the wrong choices in this game. I hate it, but I gotta pick that one. Remember, this is a little girl's view of reality. We have to think like little girl children if we are going to make the correct choices here. And a little girl would obviously go like, "Oh yes, we can totally be friends, even though I've murdered your family and the majority of your nation and I'm currently violently suppressing you." Because women are fucking weird. Unironically, women are fucking weird. Brain damage screeches. Don't worry though. Eventually, we'll raise them up to become our equals. There'll be a lot of work involved. Oh God, will there. But I am sure, just like there can be friendship between ponies and changelings, that one day we can look upon womankind and go equal. Or at the very least, not active deterrent. Maybe. Kid Knight, I like Yax, but I fear he is becoming too jaded. Yax? Jaded? I think there's a joke in there somewhere that I don't understand. I'm pretty sure. Now back to the topic of torpedoes. Oh, God heavens. Okay, come on. At least finish this one so I get 2 events to read at the same time, you know? If you're gonna bury my ass good, you know? There you go. Alright. Learned helplessness sounds really good, but I'll take... Action's plan Beckett first, just to keep the love flowing. What? The suppression thingy? No, that accomplished something. Screw you. We have accomplished nothing, Captain Cardo, actually. We have accomplished worse than nothing. We have wasted considerable resources and ling powder on this farce. General Major Yax fought to keep a straight face as he confronted the Queen's Guard, Captain... Oh, do you occupy... No, fuck you. No, I don't agree. We achieved great things, actually. I reduced my attrition rate for like 2 months. And ironically, that's actually really goddamn useful at this point, but... Again, it was the evil choice, and so it was the incorrect choice. I just need to learn to think like a little girl again. General Major Yax stood in the shadows of the gatehouse to Canterlot Castle, with nearly 5,000 soldiers from the Queen's Pony Volunteer Corps standing in the castle ground staging behind him. There was a nervous excitement in the air, like the city itself knew things were changing, and none were more aware of that energy than Jax himself, after this had been the culmination of his work these past several months. Now it's time to show the world that changelings and ponies could cooperate. Oberstleutnant Aklip straightened Yax's hat with a glow of green magic and grinned at him. About time you get a parade for your work, she said. The Queen will be pleased to see what progress you've made in promoting cooperation here in Canterlot. Not just me, Oberstleutnant, Yax said, nodding to her. Aklip averted her eyes as if she were dodging the compliment, though Yax reached out and patted her on the shoulder. Reward yourself for some time off tomorrow, Aklip. You deserve it. There wasn't much more to be said after that, as the toiling of the noon bells in Canterlot meant it was time to set out. Yax shared one last look with Aklip before blowing into a whistle and setting the parade of pony volunteers moving. And he made his way into his staff car as the officers and NCOs, the ranks of the latter half compromised of ponies, took command of the parade from there. It was going to be a long day of parades and ceremony, but for the first time in quite a while, the General Major was looking forward to it. Hopefully the Queen would be as pleased with the result as he was. Apparently she is vociferously pleased as well, as it turns out. The Queen is pleased. General Major Yax had been expecting the summons from the Queen ever since he saw that grin on her face at the sending out ceremony for the volunteers. Chryslis had seemed thrilled to have ponies genuinely loyal to the hegemon under her command, even if they weren't loyal to Chryslis personally. That didn't bother Yax, however, because he knew that the Queen couldn't separate herself from the state in her mind, so she wouldn't recognize the distinction. All she cared about was that she had gotten ponies enrolled in her service without having to threaten them first. 2 members of the Queen's Guard opened the door as Yax approached, obviously expecting his arrival, and he spared them a nod before he ventured inside. There he found the Queen sitting on one of the castle balconies, watching the city of Canterlot far below, as she could see her new pony volunteer corps in action from this far up. The guard posted behind her banged the butt of his rifle against the ground, catching the Queen's attention, and Chryslis turned away from her view to regard Yax with a smile. General Major, she said, gesturing to him to sit at a chair by her side. I must say, I am impressed with what you've accomplished here in Canterlot. Yax saluted and approached at his Queen's beckons, only sitting down when Chryslis men motioned a second time. I've taken great pains to make the transition as smooth as possible, he said, back straight and postures stiff and formal. The liberties and leeway I've afforded much of the population of Canterlot has eased tensions between our species. Chryslis scoffed at that. Be careful what you wish for, she said, much to Yax's surprise. While I'm sure you've gotten through to the simpletons in these new volunteer corps, that the times have changed, there will be plenty of ponies who would take advantage of your leeway. Until you've got more ponies in these ranks, do not take any pressure off them whatsoever. We need to show Equestria that this is their future, and if they fall in line, it will be glorious for all of us. If they don't, I want them crushed, destroyed, preferably by their own kind. That would make it all the better. Chryslis' words left Jack surprised, but he didn't dare press her any further. After all, her temper could change notoriously quickly, and she was as pleased as he was likely to get her at the moment. But even still, he didn't know if today's success would finally show the Queen that harsh measures were the least effective way of earning the pony's trust and loyalty. It seems she was still distrustful and hateful of ponies to see things any other way. Gotta think like a tiny little girl, tiny little girl, tiny little girl. Arch must speak, must think, must view the world through the lens of small child woman. Make the least logical option at all times, the least likely to produce logical and effective results, and the most cuddliest, the softest and the pinkest. Must adopt pink glasses. Nukes are underway. Yep, schnorkels it is then. Schnorkels. Sandoom, I have figured... Help me. Where was I? Okay, that's the... Yeah, Bedek. Yeah, they're good. I don't need to read that one, because I already have. Requires one of the following. The Panzerzug Corps. Yeah, Panzerzug. Panzerzug. Right. That's the Magic of Industry was the one I wanted from that. Sandoom, I have figured out the time it would take to listen to Fallout Equestria and sent you a Discord message for it. Also sent you the pics of the tanks I took. Enjoy, Fallout Equestria Fund. I hope you've been paying attention to that, by the way, because I haven't. But I trust you, Sandoom, so whatever you tell me that you've donated towards that, I'll simply accept at face value, okay? So send that information over as well. What was I doing? I feel like I was doing something important. Torpedoes! Right, okay, so the American torpedoes were... Oh god, oh Jesus. So, the American industry, of course, was earning ridiculous quantities of money off the war. Absurd quantities of money, like laughable quantities of money. And thus, obviously, there were a lot of companies who were like, oh my god, this is amazing, we gotta get in on this shit. And so they did get in on it, to supply everything to the army from chocolate to Coca-Cola to, weapons, ammunition, torpedoes, aircraft, you name it, there was a supplier for it. Oh boy. Oh no, thank god, that wasn't my fleet. I was worried there, I just lost a carrier, because that would be kind of shit. And torpedoes, of course, were one of these things. However, the torpedo was still a little bit of a dodgy piece of technology at the time, really. It wasn't perfected by any stretch of the imagination. And one of the biggest mistakes that the American manufacturers did was they underestimated the required strength in the detonation cap of all things. So that, because the detonation cap was designed to impact upon the side of a ship. And then, upon receiving pressure, which would be like, hundreds of kilograms to make sure that it wouldn't detonate accidentally upon being dropped or whatever, right? Sturmjäger Abteilung, definitely. So this thing needed to take quite a lot of pressure to make sure that it wouldn't accidentally explode during handling and so on, which makes a lot of sense, of course. But they increased it too much, to the point where the detonation cap would deform and be destroyed, actually crumple in and break, before it would send sufficient signal to the explosives to go boom. This led to something like a 70% failure rate. There were occasions where there was one where an American submarine, that was the word I was looking for, fired 3 torpedoes at a target. 3 torpedoes hit. 0 torpedoes detonated. That caused him to write a very upset letter to the producer. And even then, they were protected by so many layers of, politicking and official coverage from lobby groups. Oh. Hello? Oh boy, okay, wow, okay, Biccolini's made himself a big boy empire and is invading the Griffonian Empire. Jesus, Biccolini. Fucking aggressive, bruh. This calls for a poll. Support Griffonia or Biccolini? Biccolini? How do you spell Biccolini? I don't even know now. Biak. Biccolini. 100% fascism support. Damn, that's pretty good, bruh. That's pretty good. Ruling party popularity. You know, I think it's time to outlaw the Communist Party, because the Communist Party is one of the larger parties in my nation, actually. Anti-communist reign. Okay, we'll do gain base stability -10, though. I'll do that one. Because I do need to boost the support of my thingity-bob, which, where was it? There it is, right, 66%. I could like some more of that. Friendship is 100mm of armored plating. The Iron Horse. Panzerzug Commandant Gossamer watched the rails gleam ahead of her locomotive under the glow of the moonlight above, like two silver lines stretching into nothing beyond the cable's headlamps. The captain, today marked the first test of the new armored trains that would ferry Jaeger brigades to whenever they would need to be deployed. To suppress the equestrian resistance cells plaguing the countryside between Ponyville and the occupied pony capital. The narrow mountain pass and steep ascended up to Canterlot necessitated the use of armored vehicles able to defend themselves, and the small roads limited how much tonnage military trucks could carry to and from the city. But the rail lines were already there, and they were too difficult to access for any creatures that couldn't fly, which means they would be relatively safe from resistance operations. At least, that's what Gossamer had hoped. The locomotive under her command wasn't much of a war train. Instead, it was an all-passenger train covered with armored plating, protected by a motley armament of obsolete weaponry. Mounted atop its carriages were antiquated howitzers, and the tallmost caboose was crowded with a pillbox bristling with machine guns. Though a far cry from the real war train still being assembled, Gossamer's ride had speed, armor, and most importantly of all, mass. And while she worried about forcing the armored train to haul itself up the mountainside to Canterlot, she barely had to do anything except touch the brakes now and then when coasting down to Ponyville. And as the headlamps on the train illuminated a makeshift barricade assembled across the train tracks, and the haggard ponies armed with anti-tank rifles behind it, Gossamer soon realized that an abundance of mass was perhaps the repurposed Friendship Express' greatest strength. Oh, that's kind of brilliant. Here come the Friendship Express. Toot toot. Oh, I love that. That's pretty good. No sooner had the ponies begun firing did Gossamer release the brakes, hunkered down in the cabin whilst the armored plates defeated the anti-tank rounds with deafening booms. A moment later, she faintly heard frightened screams over the sounds of the engine chugging in front of her, and the whole train shook and shuddered as the plow tore through the barricade, scattering pieces of it, and presumably the ponies behind it, across the mountainside. Whatever those ponies had been expecting, it obviously wasn't an armored train barreling down the mountainside at them. And though Gossamer kept her eyes open for any more barricades or ambushes along the rest of the tracks, she didn't see anything else out of the ordinary until she coasted to a stop in Ponyville. That's kind of brilliant. That's kind of brilliant. Caleb Knight, you're going to have to run to the war either way. And Coroner, Dread League next. Oh boy, the Dread League? That would be painful. The Dread League have like no research. Oh, they hurt. They are they are a weird faction. Speaking of weird factions, I have so much air research. I should really just, you know, spend it. That would be intelligent of me. Let's keep 200 in case we need to design something, but let's get that spent, and we'll keep the naval research for now, because I might want to use it to make new things, boats. Right. Improved infantry half-tire-axe. The repurposed Friendship Express. I love that. I do love that. Advanced trooks. Bigger, better, cooler trooks. How many, I have... Surely I've got quite a few. Probably I still don't have enough to upgrade them. Okay, hello. Retreat. Okay, what was this? Chrysalis, I've come to bargain. Okay, that's Lilac. All right, Lilac is a good pony. We love Lilac. We love her dearly. The love tax is the new changeling queendom's most necessary institution, and also its most troublesome. Chrysalis forged her nation into a teeming mass bent on conquest, and the consequences of those years are far-reaching. The love needed to sustain her hordes may prove not to be as sustainable as either the queen or Lilac would now like. Speaking of, do I have, I do have nuclear reactors now, okay. I should start building a nuclear reactor too. Just for shits and giggles mostly. The love needed to sustain her hordes may prove not to be as sustainable as either the Queen or Lilac would now like. Protectress Lilac of Manhattan visited Visopolis requesting a change to the Queen's mandated tax. The process of acquiring it not only drains the populace, but with her limited personnel it has become a prohibitively inefficient. Captain Risk come with this certain risk come with this approach. Chrysalis is famously challenging of any of those who question her judgment, and she had personally approved of the tax. Lilac would do well to tread carefully, or maybe not. The Protectress had decided to go into this meeting with a new philosophy, that she shall win the day through sheer confidence or die trying. Chrysalis, acutely aware of how much her new realm needs a steady supply of love to prosper, nevertheless hears her governor out. Whether she will agree to some new arrangements for Manhattan is not yet decided. The Everfree. Oh, hello there. Retreat from the Everfree. Orbus Lieutenant Eclipse frowned at the report crossing her desk, familiarizing herself with the report contents before passing them along to General Major Yax. Report after report of hair soldiers abandoning their outposts set up around and inside the Everfree forest has been trickling in since yesterday morning, and while Eclipse had first planned on setting them aside and dealing with an obvious discipline issue herself, the increasing frequency of the reports had her worried. The soldiers fleeing the forest had reported a marked increase in monster attacks and partisan ambushes, causing even greater casualties than they had anticipated when they first created the garrison. The increase in attacks, coupled with the extremely hostile environment, had attritioned away half of the Hare's garrison before they fell back. Even a detachment of the Queen's Guard, the bravest and most fanatical soldiers in the entire hegemony, had fled the Everfree in chaotic retreat, claiming that the Pony of Shadows had been hunting them in the middle of the castle of the Two Sisters, which they had been tasked with exploring. It was all very strange, and Eclipse had a feeling that something more was going on in the forest that the Hare didn't quite yet understand. Perhaps it would be best to mobilize some troops to the perimeter of the forest, just in case. Okay. Well, we've got we got some motorized stuff there to begin with. We got plenty to guard the coast at this point, I imagine. Fuck. I wish it would just lock in, like in the good old days. It would just. I don't know how I managed to turn it on, because you're supposed to be able to toggle this, right? And I try to toggle it with the B key, and then it just doesn't stay toggled. Every time I click, like it untoggles, and it's incredibly annoying. I swear to God, back in the day you could click it once and it was toggled on forever. It's very frustrating. And sometimes I manage to make it toggle, and then it untoggles itself, and then I'm back to the exact same nonsense again, making me very, very upset with myself over and over again. Like there, now it stayed toggled, and I have no idea why. Okay, well, I mean, deploy some air support, I suppose. Why not? Why do I have 200 carrier bomber wings here? Probably because one of my carriers got sunk, probably. There's barely any air power Oh, it's air power there, but it's getting murdered, so I don't need to worry a lot about it. And somehow I doubt they're going to be bringing a lot of fighters, but might as well. Speaking of, do I have strategic bombers up and running at the moment? I think so. Yes. 100 strategic bombers as well. Let's, so Piccolini seems to be winning with 63%. Okay. We are going to give Piccolini our support then. Modify the Lend-Lease. I'm going to give you a further 1,000 trucks. Another 10,000 machine pistols. 1,000 anti-tank guns. 500 artillery pieces. 3,000 magical carbines. And do I have some spare tanks? I feel like I probably do, don't I? I wish you could sort this list. Traditional Panzerbjörn. Right, well, we're sending over the armored bears, obviously. Of course. And I'll send you some random stuff I captured from my enemies as well. Boomstick. Here, just take all of this random garbage that I have lying around from the Great War, okay? I'm sure it will become useful for you eventually in some way. I'm even going to send him 9 armored personnel carriers. Not that that's going to really help much, but... I mean, at least they can look at them and be like, oh, that's what an armored personnel carrier is. That's kind of cute. Maybe we should make some of our own of those. A local Piccolinian variant. There. Have at ya. What are you on about, chat? You're going to want to save after this. You have strat bombers and nukes. Start your bets. Fail, succeed, or in between. Save Arch, saved. I'd say he will win. What happened, Arch? Get Gestalt consciousness that could advise Arch to save. Ah, okay. Save. There you go. I do have some strat bombers. I don't have any nukes yet. I'm still building nukes. It's going to take a while before I got those though. New lover quotas from Manhattan. The new system will benefit us both. Breaking news out of Vesopolis today, where the Lady Protectress of the Manhattan made a speech on the steps of the Royal Palace. An honor usually reserved for Queen Chrysalis alone. Befitting the unexpected subversion of conventional decorum was the revelation announcement that the Protectress had successfully gone toe-to-toe in negotiation with the Queen, putting a new system put in place for the Manhattan Protectorate provision for the tributary love tax. Whilst he was speaking, royal guards exited the palace from behind her, and many suspected her time was through, but instead, the military ensign of the Ostkommando was raised directly beside the royal standard, if a bit lower. Lady Lilac remarked on the benefits and efficiency and profitability created by this new arrangement. Well, that's not nice. Okay, so I need nukes. Okay, I can build like 2 more reactors at the same time. But I doubt the reactors, the rest are going to be done in March. That's quite a while off, chat. Castle of the Two Sisters. Oh, the Pony of Shadows. That was actually a thing, I'm pretty sure. Why are you repairing there in the middle of the enemy's, you know, stuff? You shouldn't do that. It is dumb for you to do that. Go repair somewhere not currently being bombed, you little morons. Sturmjäger Abteilung. I know that the Everfree Forest in the lore is constantly creating all kinds of problems. I guess it's about to create problems for me. Peacekeeper Doctrine. And learned helplessness. I still haven't got any of the whole, like, suppression point thingies, which annoys me tremendously. Research APCs. Can I research more suppression yet? I cannot. Right, in that case, get started on paratroopers. Schwert und Shield. What are you working on, Generalmajor? Yax looked up from the orders he had been drafting to see Oberstleutnant Eclipse stand in the doorway of his office. He blinked, stretched his back, and grunted as he moved muscles he hadn't been using all day. Al-Sippy, Al-Clippy. I didn't hear you knock. He gestured towards his desk. Take a look. Al-Clippy stepped more directly into Yak's office and approached the stack of papers, an eyebrow raised. She picked one up in her magic and looked it over. Sturmjägers, she asked, cocking her head as the Generalmajor. What's this for? With the way that Equestria is being divided and reorganized into the commissariats, keeping troops stationed along rigid boundaries simply isn't feasible given the partisan threats we're dealing with, Yax explained. Therefore, this rapid response force will be stationed at railway hubs throughout the nation, from which they can be rapidly deployed to anywhere that needs their presence. Combating the resistance requires a faster hoof, not a heavier one. He sighed, picked up his pen, setting to work on a piece of paper that needed some lines filled in. Unfortunately, setting something up outside of the bounds of the hare's conventional structure is time-consuming and tedious, to say the least. You'll likely be working on it all night long. Maybe I can help, Alkip said, managing a small smile. Is there anything I could aid you with, Yax? I'm sure we can find something, Yax said. Glad for the Ling's company. Pull over a chair and we can get started. She wants to breed Yax, by the way. I just want to point that out. She really does. She wants to breed Yax. She wants to breed him into submission, she does. Also, this is, of course, the correct use of armored trains. In fact, I kind of miss this from previous version of Company of Heroes, of Hearts of Iron. See, in 3, the way you did resistance suppression is you created like a resistance suppression headquarter style thing, basically, and you would assign militia and cavalry units to it on auto patrol, so that they would, they'd be automated like a front, and they'd have France, for example, and France would have X amount of militia, which would be reducing suppression via military policing bonuses, and that unit would then have like 4 or 5 brigades worth of cavalry attached to it. Those brigades of cavalry would in turn then automatically move to kill any militia that rose up to threaten you, as they would then spawn militia forces actually on the map to try and combat you. It was a clunky system, no doubt about it, but honestly, I feel like it was just also a better system, honestly. I also need to be researching Marines. The train in the ocean is going very well. We are shooting down so many enemy aircrafts. I could move some more stuff over there, but honestly, the trade is probably good enough as it is. Although 2 more levels of airfield, let's go. But at the lowest priority point, so we don't remove anything from the strategic nuclear weapons program, of course, Arm trains. Alright, artillery then. God help me. Oh, hey, an occupation consolidation point. Wow. That takes me forever to get. Generalmajor Yax, what's the newest batch of junior officers counterinsurgency warfare? I don't even know what that is, but I'll take it. Learned helplessness. I will take that, though. Generalmajor Yax, what has the newest batch of junior officers placed under his command settled in their seats in the conference room? They were young for their ranks, and Yax knew from their performance evaluations that they were the best of the best the Heer could have assigned him. But they would have to do. It seemed like all the talented cadets went to the Queen's Guard, but that didn't bother him too much now. He'd rather that a changeling who could think on their own than the most skilled of the Queen's fanatics. Good morning, officers, Yax began once they had settled down. I am Generalmajor Yax, and today we'll be reviewing the most important part of your assignment, counterinsurgency operations. To that end, my staff and I had developed a theory of warfare that I feel key to approaching this task, something I call a doctrine of balanced asymmetry. Speaking of balanced asymmetry, I'll start strategic bombing it as well, since chat seems to be upset about this place. Did I get more strategic bombers? God, I have so many dumb... Okay, there we go. There, chat. We're bombing it with everything we have. I don't even think there's any enemies here, but we're certainly bombing it, chat. We're certainly bombing it. He pressed the button on the clicker, and the projector advanced to the first slide with the words "Balance Asymmetry" printed in bold letters. The hives are not at peace, make no mistake here. We are still very much at war. Contrary to the information disseminated by certain high-profile members of the military and the government, the Equestrian populace is far from being docile subjects of our queen. It is a tragedy, but it is true. They are still resisting us, those foolish, foolish little damnable pony bastards. We will have to breed it out of them sooner or later, however, I'm sure. Also, more strategic bombers. Our struggle against the subversion of the harmonic resistance will not be a conventional war. This is the realm of partisan saboteurs, where any civilian you encounter on the street could be a member of the resistance. Forget fire support and top cover as you move from building to building. 9 times out of 10, the only thing your soldiers will have to rely upon are their wits and the changeling next to them. While the Hera was built to crush the Equestrian armed forces, we must now adopt to continue to thrive in a world without formal armies, but one of slow-burning insurgencies and sporadic uprisings. Make your peace with the fact that the glorious blitzkrieg of the Great War has become a relic of the past, if you haven't already. Before I continue, are there any questions? Nuclear fire... 800 track bombers and 400 strats in question. That is a rather ridiculous number. No, I don't think I have that many. How many do I have? Well, I have 800 tactical bombers. What is this? 400 strat bombers. Okay, chat. I guess we're going to increase production of strat bombers. More blaze stones. I don't even know what the fuck chat is on about, but apparently chat wants more strat bombers. Okay, fair enough, chat. If you want strat bombers, I'll give you strat bombers. What can I take away to continue the production of that, though? I've got ridiculous numbers of automatic rifles. Then we can just do the battle rifles. Alright, that is going to require a lot more rubber and a lot more of everything. Okay, Any way I can actually get that number? It'll reduce my production of other things. Do I necessarily care? No. Honestly, sort of, kind of, not necessarily. Yep, we're already producing 2 full factory stacks of strat bombers. If that's not enough, well, fuck me. Child of the Beagle, TV show by Joe Wright, M. Son of the Century, The Rise of Mussolini in the style of House of Cards. No idea of their covering this time as socialist. M. Son of the Century. Really? That sounds kind of interesting, yeah. I've never before seen anyone do rations for stability. 05. Yes. I would like more stability, please. I have never seen anyone do proper coverage of the dictators of the 21st century. I remember, like, there was one ridiculous documentary, heavy quotation mark, about Hitler, for example, and it was awful. It was really, 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 really unironically terrible. Oh, subjugate the Everfree, I see. An Everfree briefing. Okay, I guess I'm going to focus in on that now, then. Learn helplessness. General Mayoyak snuck in through the back door of the auditorium, careful to make sure the door didn't slam behind him. The speaker on the stage was already well into her presentation, and the officers and general of the Queen's Guard in front row gave their utmost attention. Rather than moving up to the front of the crowd, however, Yak slipped into one of the back rows, where General Oberstabs Marcelo watched the presentation with a bored look on his face. Sorry I'm late, Jax apologized, sitting down next to the Surgeon General. Budgeting concerned with the staff took longer than anticipated. Don't apologize. Be grateful you've missed that much, Marcelio drawled. He lazily pointed a hoof at the uniformed changeling on stage as she clicked through the slides in the presentation. This hack psychologist is making a mockery of the whole field of psychology. She's more interested in the Queen's payroll than she is in honest research. You don't say, Yax frowned at a slide that showed a caricature of a pony cowering under the waving whip of 3 changelings standing above it. What she's talking about. Learned helplessness, Marcelo said, making air quotes with his hooves. The Queen Guards believe that by stepping on the necks of ponies everywhere, eventually they'll give up resisting us, assuming that their helplessness is the natural state of the world. That's why they think the widespread suppression activities they pulled off a few months ago were effective. I scoffed at that. All they accomplished was sending the resistance cells to ground. They think that was success, when the reality has just made things worse. Oh, God help me. They've written entire... Mod developers, stop making mods. You don't want to make a mod. You want to write a fucking book. That's what you want. Yax couldn't wait for the droning of cell-style psychologists to be over. Thankfully, the torture mercifully ended after only another hour. He and Marcelo decided to stop in at Love Bar, before going their separate ways for the night and discussing the idiocy they both heard. Learn helplessness. Ridiculous, Marcelo bemoaned. The only reason such a concept exists is because the Queen's Guard and the fanatics believe their own propaganda. They think ponies are little more than livestock than be cowed into submission. They're incapable of understanding that brutal oppression will never get the ponies to stop fighting us. If given the choice between repeated pain and misery or a chance to end it all one way or another, any rational creature will take the latter option. And they are, Yak said, slowly nodding. That's why things are this bad. This is not true, though. This is objectively not true. This is not true in the slightest. Countless oppressive regimes have proven that this is actually the way of the world. The majority of people will not choose death or liberty. The majority of people will choose, well, servitude. Shut up. You're being wrong, gay. I'm not going to read your wrongness. You're being retarded now. Oh, the ponies will never stop resisting if we abuse them. I don't know. A lot of abused populations around the world seems to disagree with you rather heavily there. In fact, the current year appears to disagree with you rather heavily there. Now what's happening? I hate you, video game. Like, it's not one pop-up, it's 2 now. Alright, do I even need to maintain a superiority over this area? I frankly probably don't. Do I have... No, we'll wait until I've built more airfields there. Oh god, I can't even see the screen. Durkbrook. Sturmia, I don't know what any of this means. Okay, Chaos in the Everfray. An Everfree briefing. Oberstleutnant Clip closed the door behind herself as she entered General Oberst Marcelo's team temporary base of operation. In Canterlot, while the Have worked to contain the rapid growth of Everfree, she spied Marcelo sitting at his desk, muzzle deep in some reports, and clacked her hooves together in salute to get his attention. General... No, she said you had reports to the General Mayor. I did, Marcelo did, swiftly noticing that only El Clippo had entered. Where is he? Getting much needed rest, El Clippo said, stifling a yawn of her own. I figured I would take some of the simple things for him while he sleeps, like catching up on some of his reports. You sound like you need some rest of your own, El Clip, Marcelo said. When El Clip shook her head, she shrugged and gestured to the chair across from him. Well, my team has made some progress since we last spoke on this matter. The short version is that at this rate, the Everfree is growing. We have maybe under 2 months to contain its spread before the Hare's position in central Equestria becomes untenable. We need to do something before then to contain the forest. Alright, so should I just not pick that option then? Is it timed, or do you just get to ignore it? Defoliation Innovation. Full Gelb. Namesake Wonder Weapon with a blast deal of 24 kilotons. I guess that's the nuke. Well, I don't have nukes yet, so... I'll have nukes in 56 days, but I'll need to produce them too, which will take a lot longer than that. It was horrible, General Mayor. I lost 16 of my soldiers before I gave the order to retreat. 16 to a bunch of plants. Easy, Hauptfeldwebel, settle down. General Moyax instructed the sergeant, go take a walk, get a drink of water, and calm down. Your report is over. A nod to a pair of soldiers standing by the door, who gently escorted the shell-shocked sergeant out of the conference room. Sighing, Yax turned to the other officers seated around him. Oberstleutnant Clippy, his indispensable right hoof, General Officer Marcello, the Haas Surgeon General, an assortment of local commanders from the central Equestrian region. The Hauptfeldwebel support isn't an outlier, he said to them, tapping a plain folder sitting in front of him. Many of you have troops around the Everfree have reported back the same thing. I'm sure attacks by pony insurgents wearing shamanistic paint and markings who melt away like shadows into the undergrowth, an alarming increase in monster sightings around the Everfree. A reconnaissance plane even spotted a Hydra, picking up a sheet of photographs. Yax continued. Furthermore, there have been raids by partisans who seem to be armed with unknown alchemical weapons. He spread the photographs across the table. One showed what had once been a changeling panzer, now a warped hunk of twisted metal, and those showed a changeling soldier sutured to the side of his burnt-out truck. Chitin becomes steel, but his canopus had fused with the door of the driver's cab. On top of all this, the tree line seems to be creeping forward at a frightening rate. Oberstleutnant Aklip nodded and provided some context. Rail lines around the forest are being torn up by plunder vines, and several of our scout posts have already been overrun with foliage. I'm not sure if you've ever seen anything like this, General Stabs Oberstaps. Don't care now, or still shook his head. The Everfree Forest is a place of wild, untamed magic, opaque to even the greatest pony mages and scholars that live near it. The Surgeon General said, we are fighting against magic that we do not understand, and I'm not sure if he will win. Well, Triax definitively stated, is the only thing we can do. No! I am sick of your fucking events. Okay, so this is what chat was talking about, I guess, which is, I don't know, what? Something. Alright, little forest thingies. Apparently attacking them is not very effective. In fact, any attempt seems to instantaneously end in defeat, amusingly enough. 2,978. Terrain, country, Golden Oak Brigade, 1,496. That's quite a lot. 329%. Yes, aircraft don't even have time to show up to help. Okay, that's pretty nasty. Chill. Yes. Join wars. This is good for you. What was I researching? Probably something. Artillery? No. Packs? Yes. Okay. Do focuses and have enough bombers? Well, I don't know how much bombers. Falgrun. Defoliating innovation. Ah, boy. Falgelb, Project Königlucke. 10 days. Going to seed. Finicus Vesalius barged through the okay, most discretion. Discipline switch to better strain. Then process strain. Okay, so you're not going to give me any information. It's just going to be a multiple choice thing. Okie dokie. Finicus Vesalius barged through the door to General Mayor Yak's office. General Mayor, you're making a huge mistake. Finicus bellowed, trotting up to Yak's desk and dropping several folds of whatever papers the General might have been looking at until Finicus' arrival. A huge mistake that's going to screw us both over. What are you doing here, Finicus? Alakip snaps, stepping forward to intercept the industrialist. You didn't make an appointment to see the General Mayor. I didn't, because time was of the essence. Finicus tapped the folder he tossed on Yax's desk. I can't fucking read anymore. It's 2 hours of fucking endless just event reading. This is a book, not a video game. growth air free. You plan on dropping the spores from low-flying crop dusters, right? After which they will grow into a moss that parasites all organic matter it touches, feeding and expanding on its host until it kills them both in a matter of hours. An ingenious approach to an unorthodox problem, if I do say so myself. Yes, Yak said, narrowing his eyes, and how are we making a huge mistake? Proper precautions are being taken, and the land surrounding the forest is to be torched and cleared to make sure the moss doesn't grow where it shouldn't. But you're buying the weak stuff, Phoenicus exclaimed. The company that's supplying the spores for you, one of Lactin's crownies, owns it. Our Queen's Guard captain pushed it over all the other competitors for the contract, even though it's the least refined. I should know, I was competing for that contract too. Okay, X said with a frown. And you want me to use yours? Phoenicus emphatically nodded yes. Mine grows faster, is more efficient, and most importantly, it doesn't overstay its welcome. That's the biggest problem with the strain you're using. If left unchecked, it could grow out of control. But if you sign a few papers and pull a few strings, maybe you can get a better replacement for your project. Okay, well, anything the Queen Guards does is negative in this mod, so we will side with the industrialists. Defoliant innovation. Katydid turned her head skywards at the drone of distant propellers as she watched a trifecta of modified crop dusters swoop over the Ever-Free. Green clouds billowing from their nozzles. What is that? Where's that? Oh. A green cloud billowing from the nozzle on the wings of the fallen. All fours canopy below. She could see where the spores had made impact from where she stood, but the closer to her station at the Harefield Hospital, she couldn't see the bone-white dusk of trees where the moss had landed, feasted, and subsequently died out. Little by little, the Hare's latest plan to beat back the encroaching forest seemed to find success, and the efforts had dramatically slowed the ability of the forest to press outwards towards the concrete-lined ditch the Hare had hastily erected around it. But the price those efforts demanded could be horrid. In a steady deluge, ponies and changeling would have fallen victims to the spores and been brought back to her hospital. The former often civilians caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, the latter members of the Fahrradspahn operating deep within the Everfree. The moss didn't limit itself to plants, it went after anything organic. And ponies and changelings alike whimpered in agony as the moss ate into their flesh. That's pretty terrible. Most had no chance of survival. Once the moss made it into a creature's bloodstream, they would wither and die from the inside out as the moss feasted upon their organs. All Katyd did do was prepare a triple dose of morphine to ease their pain on the way out. It put a terrible toll on her mind, and her fears wouldn't ease when one of the orderlies under her command started coughing and fell ill as the spores infected him as well. Her brief moment of introspection over, her face resumed the unusual impassive mask of stoicism, and Itiri turned back to her work as the noise of the planes died away. Yes, Falgrim was working, but it exacted a terrible toll for success. Oh, God help me. Alright, Falgel. But I don't have nukes, so maybe this one will boost it or give me one, who knows, as there's still quite some time until I will have nukes. Target the adjusted coordinates. Again, whatever the Queen Guard is doing, I need to do the opposite of that. Best for our Central Equestria. We have these 750 aircraft based out of airbase in Central Equestria. Okay. What is Central Equestria? Yes, which is Central Equestria? Central Equestria? Is that like a larger region? What is Central Equestria video game? Rongy Bottom, Summerdale, Frogman's Manor, Cloudsdale. Luna Nova? Little Ponydale, Ghastly Gorge. I have no idea what you're referring to, video game. Air bases in Central Equestria Strategic Region. Okay, let's see. Central Plain. There. Okay, so that's Central Equestria. Okay. Alright, well that is where most of my bombers are already located, but we can certainly move more stuff over there. I'll move over the fighters. New air wing. Right, bombers. We'll make that. What are you? I don't even know what you are. Basic large airframe. Improved large airframe. We got 60 of those. Might as well deploy them. Small fighters. We should have plenty of fighters. Right. How many aircraft was that? 750 aircraft, 250 fighters, 250 tactical bombers. Oh yeah, I've got more than enough of that. More than enough of that. Project Königglocke. Report from the Oberphysiker Dorfiliker to her Heer High Command. Queen's Bell performance trial stand utmost success. Device is capable of nurturing magical energies within utilization radius of 2 kilometers. Additional cobalt dispersive plating cable capable of sustaining anti-thermic effect. Bullshit. Queen's Bell ready for deployment at 0600 hours. Original target of Castle of Two Sisters. Recommended due to partisan concentration. Directive from Great Queen Chrysalis demand target to be shifted. Dense woodland 15 kilometers. Anything that Chrysalis say, do the opposite. It's a very simple rule. Non-compete clause. Is this also to do with this? Non-compete clause. What is the meaning of this? Generalmajor Jagdas pushing a piece of paper across his desk towards Finnicus Versalis. He frowned as the industrialist took it between his hooves and gave it a look over. I'm trying to do my damnedest to stop the spread of the Everfree, but it feels like every single changeling in the hegemony is trying to tell me what to do. Finnicus rolled his eyes and passed the letter back to Jax. My colleague has got wind of your new plan for the Everfree. What was it? To bomb the thing with napalm every hour of every day for 2 weeks straight? I like that. In its simplest interpretation, yes, Jax said. Precision bombing runs during the first week, establishing a perimeter of fire, which fueled by a recirculatory jet stream created through weather manipulation will make it self-sustaining. Then it'll be indiscriminate saturation bombardment to create a firestorm until the whole thing is sticks and cinders. I like this. Decision tab? More stuff. 6 and 7. But now I'm being told to scale back the bombing in this letter signed by all of your friends. Finnicus drew a sheaf of paper from his briefcase with a flourish. You must know of the Star Spiders. I hear they've accounted for a whole 2% of soldiers' casualties in the Everfree. Seeing the Generalmajor's frown deepen, Finnicus pressed on. What I don't expect you to know, though, is how valuable an asset we think they will be to further scientific development. More specifically, their silk. I believe that even the new Panther models have trouble distangling from their webs. Get to the point, Yak snapped. My point is that the Everfree is potentially the single most significant source of untapped natural resources in all of Equus. Star Spider silk only scratches the surface of what we could accomplish from using the sort of stuff the Everfree has to offer. And now you say you want to firebomb all that potential into ash and dust? Yes. Yeah, no, I'm gonna bomb it. Fuck you. I don't care. Operation Fernhof, Sturmjäger, okay, I'll do those as well. Nuclear strike on the Everfree Forest. It appears today that Changeling Hegemony has detonated a Thormolt nuclear device at the epicenter of the infamous Everfree Forest, situated in the central Equus. This does not seem to have been a test, as the chosen location would make the observation of a nuclear weapon difficult to perform. Rather, this looks to have been a military response to the ongoing insurgency originating from the Everfree Forest, whilst other sources suggest that the detonation was intended as a particularly extravagant means of defoliation to combat the Everfree's supernatural exponential growth spurt that threatens to engulf the royal changeling hare's holding in the region. Though the Great War is over, Equestria itself is far from pacified. If this recent development is any indication of the hegemon's determination or desperation to continue their imperial rule over Equus. Good. Nuke the plants. The plants do not have rights. Nuke them. Nuke them again if we have to. Nuke them again if we can. Sadly, I don't have any more nukes, but it is nevertheless good that we have dropped the nukes that we have. Oh, I do need more AA weapons. So, If I even try to attack in here, will I just, like, die? Like, if I go in here... Oh, my org instantaneously disappeared. Okay. I see. What is this behind me? Is this... I don't know what this is. And that makes me worried. It seems to be spreading, however, and I don't like it. What lies beneath? Hautfebel Vexel propped his rifle between two rocks at the edge of his foxhole and tracked his target. A unicorn bedecked in green tribal paint as she ran from one side of the street to the other. Before she could slip into cover, Vexel fired his weapon, the shot ripping through the pony's neck and leaving her drowning in her own blood on the ground. Retaliatory gunfire from the rest of the partisans further up the street barraged his position, and the sergeant slid down deeper into his foxhole. So Lord Commander Julka, big push, but on the Everfree. It doesn't seem to be doing much, as if I try to move into it, I lose all organization, just immediately, so I imagine, division speed, minus 75, organization regain, minus 75. Yeah, it doesn't look like something you want to be moving into, apparently. At all. Alright, well, I will abide by the game's ruling. Besides him, Oberstleutnant Sisyphus, her officer cap lost someone in the fighting around Ponyville. She held the radio's headset to the side of her head, her fangs reflecting the orange fires burning around the town as she screamed into it. What do you mean there's no artillery? You were supposed to keep the plunder wines away from the guns. That's what the concrete placement were for. A roar went up through the town, and dirt fell down into the foxholes as an Ursa Minor leapt over it, its starry claws flattening the half-track that had been providing Vexel and Oberleutnant fire support. The ground trembled on the hoof as the Ursa Minor continued its rampage, and as changeling soldiers fled down the street in a panic rout, Vexel realized their lines were breaking and they'd soon be overrun. Gritting his teeth, Vexel scurried over to Sisyphus and grabbed her by the shoulder. Oberleutnant, we need to fall back. Our lines are breaking, and if we don't move... I will not surrender Ponyville to a bunch of plants. Sisyphus shot back. I will not be known as the officer who loved Ponyville. I will not surrender to the forest. I will fight to the bitter end if I have to. All we need do is hold out until the bombers arrive. She never got the chance to finish as the ground suddenly exploded around her, tossing Vexel backward. The surgeon came to a rest upside down on the far end of the foxhole, and from the ground where the Oberleutnant once stood, he saw spewing forth into the sky like a geyser, a glistening purple tubber, thicker than a tree trunk, toppled with a snake-like head that split open as if it were a flower in bloom. Into a troika of petals dotted with slitted eyes, still propelling itself skyward, the eyes on the Tatzelwurm's petals stared down at the fleeing soldiers below it with a brutish, inequine malice. The thing let out a horrendous screech as it lashed at the formation of Luftwaffe fighters circling towards the town from above, ensnaring a trio of Stukas with its whip-like tongues and dashing them on the rooftops below with a powerful flex of its body. Of the lieutenant, nothing remained save for her radio. With the grisly demise of their commanding officer, what was left of the Heer in Ponyville soon broke rank and fled, the partisans of the Everfree and their monstrous allies hot on their heels. Alright, so sometimes it will just, like, expand, I guess. Keep bombing it. Pacify Ponyville requires DAS 99 Duel in the Crown. Well, I still don't have that, so I mean... yeah, but it's still not actually unlocked, so I guess that's all of the things I can do? I guess? Oh, wait, is everything else locked as well? Okay. Confused now. How do we sleep when our beds are burning? That's a good question. And what about these two events? Mordor events. Taming the forest. Okay. How do we sleep when our beds are burning? Roseluck buried her head under her pillow as the droning of bomber engines resumed almost right on the hour. It was 4 in the morning, and every hour for the last few days another wing of changeling bombers would fly over Ponyville on their way to the Everfree. Every single time she heard that drone from their engines, her heart leapt into her throat, as traumatic memories of changeling bombers flattening the town during the Great War resurfaced to the front of her mind. At least with the nerve-wracking regularity of the bombardment, she was starting to get used to it. But that didn't help her at all when she was trying to sleep. She poked her head out from beneath her pillow and glared at the drawn blackout curtains in the corner of the room. The firestorm raging in the heart of the Everfree was so great that its apocalyptic flames cast their orange glow all the way to Ponyville, painting her room in shades of amber. Despite the fact that Roseluck had done her best to coat the cloth in black paint and stop any light from getting in. She knew come morning she'd have to spend hours shoveling ash out of her walkway, and she'd have to do it again before going to bed tomorrow night. Between the shoveling, the lack of sleep, and the suffocating orange haze that blanketed Ponyville, Roseluck almost wished that one of those bombers would empty their payload on her house and put her out of her misery. Almost. Boy. There's, dispatches. You think the hair's all guns and glory, Grub? The grizzled veteran gives you a hollow look, his eyes seemingly sunken into his skull from the countless nights of pressing his hooves to them and screaming. Half a dozen used shot glasses litter the bar in front of him, and those are only the ones the bartender hasn't swiped away yet. You haven't seen anything, you don't know what you're getting into. The hair's the best way to make a name for yourself. You protest, trying to justify yourself before the drunken vet before you. Besides, the war is over. All that's left is those partisans in the forest. How long could they possibly hold out? The ex-soldier lurches for you, strong hooves suddenly on your shoulders, pressing you onto the seat of your stool. Listen, Grub, he growls. I was stupid like you once. I won medals in the Great War. I stormed the palace in Canterlot. I was a member of the Sturmjäger. I had everything I wanted. Slaves, shekels, statues. Slaves? Everything. There's something in his eyes, a twinkle of nostalgia from the good old days, perhaps. But it's gone in a split second. Then I signed up for the Fernspanner, because what I wasn't enough, I had wasn't enough, and that's why they sent me straight in the middle of the Everfree. Well, too bad for you. The steam drill that beats down. Ober-Pioneer Morris covered his ears just in time, a moment before the massive locomotive challenged the Everfree with an ear-splitting roar from its horn. The war train's advance seemed inexorable. The spearhead of the Heer as it thrust deeper and deeper into the forest. Protected by a regiment's worth of pioneers equipped with flamethrowers and armored bulldozers. Man, I love the potential visuals of this. A fucking armored train choo-chooing into the Everfree, with hundreds of dudes with flamethrowers around it just blasting. Oh, that's the scene from hell. As bombers above drop incendiaries. The train's relentless advance felled the forest and the monsters that called it home with a cold efficiency matched only by the brutality of the military police on board the train. With whip, truncheon, and bayonet, they were responsible for ensuring that the ragged band of pony track layers at the front laid down cross ties and rails before rails passed the point of exhaustion. Maurice had already passed by so many equine bodies that he became numb to the sight. Damn. It wasn't an easy task for the Heer, not by a long shot. Sheltered by the forest and aided by the monsters lurking within, the partisans resisted every inch of the changeling thrust through a relentless onslaught of ambushes and raids. Need to do Canterlot for us. That one? Names? I don't think so. It seems like, I don't know, Yeah, no, I need to do with the Zagora's resistance, apparently, which is... Yeah, no, there's a different thing, I think, but... I might as well do it anyways, because I don't have anything else to do. It was an easy task for the Heer, not by a long shot. Sheltered by the forest and aided by the monsters lurking within, the partisans resisted every inch of the changeling thrust through a relentless onslaught of ambushes and raids. And as the war train and his entourage advanced deeper into the Everfree, the gulf between the changelings and the outside world grew ever more distant. The rearguard left to protect the miles of track suffered not only the depredations of the partisans and monsters, but from the Everfree itself. Dozens of times the pioneers had been dispatched back down the line to carve a path through the resurgent foliage, but had reclaimed the tracks. But no matter what they threw at it, the train's thick armor plating and heavy artillery sent the forest and its denizens reeling after intense fighting. Still, it was slow going at best. Plunder vines regularly erupted between the cross ties, ensnaring the train's wheels until they were burnt away by flamethrowers, and the ambient magic and suffocating humidity regularly corroded and ruined the delicate electronics on board the train. Runners had proven the most reliable way of communicating with the Hare, as the radios regularly stopped, working a few hours after being delivered to the train. In spite of all this, the train's progress, slow and painful as it was, would not be stopped. Well, that's good. I think, maybe, who knows? A scout let out a whistle, and the soldiers around the train immediately rushed to their battle stations, crewing the ordnance mounted on the train's wagon against whatever the forest threw at them at this time. Maurice himself quickly scurried aboard the train's armored cabin with the rest of the pioneers, hopefully out of harm's way. Join the pioneer corps, they said. It'll be fine, they said. Maurice bitterly remarked to himself. It's better than being on the front lines, they said. Well, boy. Varnish watched as the orange flames reached up through the bones of the Everfree, curling the dying leaves with their heat. Oh, the final battle, okay. The Nightmare Nights. Your worst nightmare comes to life. The oh god, it's more of that one. Don't get me wrong, I like a bit of fluff, but Jesus Christ, video game, this isn't a bit of fluff. I have seen fucking Russian suicidal novelists be less verbose than you. Dostoevsky is less verbose than this. Nightmare Nights. Love and fucking Peace is a thinner book. Your worst nightmare come to life. The Equestria growls. You think the Everfree just magical plants and a bunch of cultists attacking you at random? That's what I thought it would be at first, and that's nothing. I could have dealt with that if it was just that. I'd been a part of too many ambushes by then for that to spook me. No, it's the other stuff. It's the other things that get you. The veteran takes a moment to glare at the empty shot glass in front of him, and he signals to the bartender for another. It's there in moments, and the changeling wastes no time, slipping it into his hoofs and down in the liquor in one gulp. He coughs, grimaces, and before you can ask if he's alright, he fixes you with his haunted eyes again. The trees grub, they talk to you. They moan and wail when night fails. They've got faces on them too. The night is filled with whispers and screams. They try to get you to do things, try to get you to kill your friends, to blow your brains out. You sleep too close to one, it'll strangle you with its roots, dragging you down into the mud without so much as a scream. And then there's the Timberwolves. Just wolves made out of wood, right? Well, wood doesn't feel pain, and it doesn't bleed. You need an anti-tank round to kill one. Bullets won't do the trick, and good luck getting enough fuel for a flamethrower when you're deep in the forest, isolated from the rest of your unit. About the only thing that kept me going was the contraband I could get my hooves on. I perfected the recipe for a nice cocktail of stimulants and tranquilizers made out of industrial-grade love, just to keep me going. It messed with my head, Grub, I swear. I shot the same pony in the face dozens of times, but I could never kill her. To this day, I don't know if she was real or not. He sadly glares one last time at you, so if you want to live out those nightmares, go ahead, but if you do, don't listen to the trees. Don't listen to the damn trees, Grub. The trees. The Conquest of Paradise. Varnish watched as orange flames reached up through the bones of the Everfree, curling the dying leaves with their heat and turning the vegetation into ash. Relentless pressure from the changeling Hare had brought the Everfree forest to its knees, and with it, the Resistance' last bastion of safety. When he'd first fled into the forest to fight on Zakora's behalf, he thought that the indomitable forest on the outskirts of Ponyville would protect him from anything. Now, as the forest grew thicker with smoke and ash, and the clattering of gunfire and thundering of artillery reverberated through the dead forest, he realized that all was lost, and the changelings were coming to wipe out the insurrection once and for all. Up front, the resistance heroic's leaders watched the destruction of the forest with pain in her eyes. In better times, she had made her home in its secluded depths, now her sanctuary. One of the last places in Equestria where the magic of the wilderness had remained untamed had collapsed into cinders. Around her and with it, the last vestiges of free Equestria. Still, she bared her teeth and rubbed at her eyes. Then she turned to face the ponies gathering before her, tears streaming down her face. The fire behind her illuminated her like an angel of hellfire, and her bloodshot eyes burned through the smoke thickening the air. Ponies of Equestria, this is not the end, she said, shaking her head. For our actions, even the fates must commend. Our lands and our country are not yet lost, for their victory was bought at a terrible cost. Their armies battered us with monsters of steel, yet even now we refuse to kneel. Perhaps Chrysalis was right in that it was foolish to fight. Every pony present watched as Zecora picked a rifle up off the ground and brandished it into the air. Even though the changeling had taken from her her forest refuge, overwhelming the monstrous fauna and flora that protected it and called it home, she still had one tool left, in the crude form of a firearm. So long as she had something to fight with, then she was determined to fight. But even though we may die, that does not mean we will not try. With a yell, her partisans raised their weapons and let out a war cry. Varnish among them. They all knew there was no surrendering now. The changelings would execute them as soon as they got their hooves on them. The only thing they could do now was to fight, even though it would be their doom. The final battle for the Everfree has begun. Has it? Oh, may I attack now? Okay. Well, I've got 750 bombers running continuous ground support attacks, so in we go. General Zecora. Let's see your plants stand up to this. In fact, alright. I mean, it's a forest, so I don't feel like the Panzer divisions are going to be quite as effective here, but oh, that is not the button I wish to press at all. How do I get rid of this button? Help! Oh, there we go. If you fear beasts of steel, then beasts of steel is what I shall of course give you. It's only what you deserve, right? Still a fair bit of resistance in here, but nothing compared to previously, where the mere act of moving forward, it would instantly deorganize one's battalions. Marines! Crayon, 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 crayon. Ah, God, okay. Still nasty, still very nasty. 193 organization. 193 org. My actual unironic Jesus. Well, I mean, it's fanatical resistance, isn't it? And that sure as fuck is fanatical. Boy. 193 goddamn org. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay. Could I perhaps make a little snip off here? You know, crush some units. Movement speed is slow. My allies are doing their thing. Good boys. Fanatical resistance, indeed, every step of the way. The ponies are throwing themselves without any care in the world for their casualties against the advancing changeling tanks. But they did that during the Great War as well. It did not avail them then. It will not avail them now. Now that your magic is broken, all you have left is steel and flesh. And those have never been able to withstand the changeling hordes. Nuclear bomb? Why, yes, thank you. Speaking of, did I ever actually... Yes, I did. Alright, get more fighters down there. And we can resume contesting that zone. Go, go. Wood splinter, rock break. Somebody find the tree beard quote from Lord of the Rings. I feel like that one would be fitting here. Although in this case, I suppose it's Sauron who's winning. Sauron. I still occasionally lose all of my org, though, which is a bit nasty. Don't listen to the trees, for the trees speak equine. The trees speak friendship. Now, seeing as the trees are trying to choke my ass, I don't think they're speaking friendship. I don't know what the trees are speaking, but it sure as fuck ain't friendship. Oh. Your org regain rate is as shit as mine, isn't it? Oh, okay. Well, in that case, don't mind if I become a little bit more aggressive then. Wood and water, stock and stone I can master, but there is a wizard to manage here, locked in his tower. Thank you, Jane Khan, yes. And well, I might not be locked in a tower, but I am a queen, not a wizard. There is a queen to be mastered here. And that is a task for another queen, but unfortunately, Equestria's queen has already long been defeated. Ow, that's too much. There is no protecting you from Chrysalis. Go, go, go. Smash, crush, destroy. There is so little left. I don't even know what is left. The map is unreadable at this point. The battle for the castle of the Two Sisters. The insurgency waged by equestrian partisans in the Everfree Forest is in its death throes as the changeling forces occupy the castle of the Two Sisters, capturing what is likely to be the insurgents' last major stronghold within the forest. Information about the conflict between the changeling hegemony and the insurgency led by the zebra known as Sakura is scarce and unreliable due to the intense changeling censorship. But observers in Canterlot have reported massive saturating bombing campaigns and the deployment of hundreds of thousands of changeling troops to quell the uprising, as well as what could possibly be a thermonuclear strike on the forest itself. As reports of irreversible environmental destruction, severe civilian casualties, and changeling wartime brutality trickle in. One thing is certain, the Pax Chrysalis still reigns supreme in Equestria. As will it always and forever, yes. There is no resisting, fools. Okay, do I need to, like, occupy every tile or something? Because they keep, like, respawning. Okay. Occupy all of the tiles. Get in there, deal with that last little resistance. Oh, is that out of bombing range? It is, isn't it? Right, get in there. Smashy, smashy from the sky. Hold your ground. Stand your ground. Every piece of this piece of terrain. All of it. Sakura's resistance has been defeated. Has it? Has defeated Sakura's resistance in armed conflict. There we go. There you go, chat. You were worried for nothing. You were like, oh, we are all doomed. We are not doomed, chat. You were panicking for no reason. You were just being little weirdos, being all afraid of plants and shit. God, what is wrong with you? Silly chat. Silly chat. Thinking that plants could hurt them. I bet chat still checks under its beds for monsters. For monster plants, probably. Silly chat. Silly, foolish chat. Thinking plants are dangerous. Weirdos. There. That was an interesting event, though. Paradise lost. Finicus of Asalis walked past the smouldering remains of a gargantuan hardwood tree, its bark blackened by fire and bleached white by the moss that feasted on its life force before dying out itself. Craggy, broken plunder vines reached toward the sky as if desperate that some heavenly figure would descend from above to save them, before the Flammenwerfers and Napalm turned them to charcoal fossils. The skeleton of a hydra lay not too far away, the vertebra in one neck crushed beneath the threads of a panzer to the side. Bony carcasses festered in a mass grave, the awful stench fouling up the air. Finicus looked up, where another wave of heavy bombers flew overhead, bomb bay doors open and ready to drop their payload. Day after day, night after night, the bombers flattened and burned the forest, working in conjecture with more artillery brought to bear on a single target than ever before. And if the industrialist opened his mouth and tasted the air, the faint tang of metal touched his tongue. The fallout from the magical nuke still floating gently on the winds, accompanied by a faint tinnitus whine caused by the residual radiation. Somehow the hare had done it. The Everfree Forest may have been a source of wild, untamed magic, but it had buckled underneath the weight of the changeling war machine, like the ponies it tried to protect. In the end, magic couldn't stand up to industrial, modern, military might. In the clash of sorcery versus steel, steel had won, and indomitably so. Now naught would remain of the once awe-inspiring forest, but bones and ash. It was a shame it had to be this way. Who knew what the hives could have learned, given the chance to study the forest's wild magic, and unique flora and fauna? What source of advancement could have propelled the changeling species into the next era? Those were questions without answers now. As the wind blew through the skeletal trees, their branches rattled the bones of the dead, creating an eerie cacophony that settled over the land. It was time to go. Reading. Mein Redungsleben. Mein Redungsleben. And good on those of you in chat, like, I always believed in Arch. You are the true heroes. You are the good people that understand. Do I want light tanks? Yes, I want light tanks now. You understand that there is no stopping this. And I didn't need any nuclear bombs, you little lying pigs. Right, how is the air war proceeding? Trading 1-1 actually, which is a lot worse than I'd been expecting. 91 to 185. Okay, not that bad after all. Okay, dokie. Right, but I think it could be better. I definitely think it could be better. Build radar, build airfields. I wish to crush the enemy in the air as completely as I've crushed them on the ground. You say that until you lose an entire panzer battalion to plants. Well, it was not a problem for me. I mastered it without any real concern. And I see my dumbass boats are still using this place to replenish and try to repair, whilst being actively bombed. Intelligent, very. Very clever. Very smart of you. No, not smart. Dumb, in fact. Very dumb. Stupidly dumb. Do I have more? Well, I don't need the fighters here anymore, so... There. Now, crushing air superiority to boot. That should smash the remnants of the resistance in here, one would think. Yep, does look like it. As they throw in anything and everything they've got. Well, it just isn't going to be enough. It just isn't going to be enough, you little silly bastards. Advanced tracks, yes. We are going to need tracks as well. And I suppose we can calm down on the strategic bomber production a little bit now. Modern artillery. Improved anti-tank. Better trucks. Okay, is that... Okay, now we're back to that required for regional... Yeah, okay, fine, that's fine. Alright, well, I've done everything over here. Resistance -1. Okay, how are we doing on the resistance front, actually? It's better, sort of, kind of. Sort of, in a way. In a way, kind of, yeah. Alright, let's get a couple more of the love things out of the way. And I don't really want to go for the Superman love synthesis. You have to do that. 3 on suppressed resistance. Okay, I'm getting there. War production. Regional Commissariat. Prepare the Siege-Long 6th Rate Hull. Executioners of Empire. War never changes. That does sound useful. Triumph of the Hive. Post-war euphoria. Doesn't require stability, war support, ideology shift. Okay, for 360 days. That's nice. So I need regional commissariat, but I don't really want to use the regional commissariat, honestly. Maximum sustainable amount of frontline battalion plus 15%. Love gain supplementary love acquisition 25%. Okay, no need to worry about that. Required garrison plus 25%. Oof. Resistance -1. Aid the reconstruction. Chance to have construction -10. Local initial speed, local factories. The cavalry racket. Because, see, the regional commissariat would mean that I would need to reduce the rate of occupation. Which I don't like, because right now the rate of occupation is actually going relatively well. I'm kind of just fishing for more compliance points, but I like these. Alright, I'm gonna take that one, and I'm gonna start going down that line. Because the idea of the other building hive thingy intrigues me. If I can maybe colonize their lands, that would be pretty sweet. Would you like super heavy tanks? Yes. Yes, I would. Thank you very much. I would very much so like super heavy tanks. I was talking about torpedoes a while ago. Yes, I was, and I was completely brought off that topic by the Everfree Forest being gay to me. Torpedoes. That was a fun topic that I had 2 hours ago before Das Redungsites overwhelmed us all. Why do we have paratroopers? We can fly? Well, yeah, but, you know, we can only fly for so long until we get tired, I guess. I can only fly for so long, whereas if we can drop ourselves from an aircraft, we can fly for longer without getting tired. Manifest Destiny, I like the sound of that. Compliance promotion. God, that's not what I need, though. I need... well, okay, this is fine anyway, actually. Your Majesty, General Major Yax, bowed before the Great Queen Chrysalis as he approached a throne of Sapolis. Oh, this I'm read. This was the yeah, where Yax get promoted to Bossman of Canterlot. I read that last time. Rations for stability. How much do I have? I have enough. Okay, yep. Rations for stability it is. Let's keep the stability up. Keep improving things. And we've got air superiority here now. There you go. Look at the rate at which they're losing shit. Yep. Smashy, smashy. Beautiful. Beautiful. No more gay little airstrikes on my pretty little boats now. No. Oh, one tiny little bomber. Thank you, tiny little creature. Thank you, tiny little baby ruler of New Graphonia. I appreciate it when you give me a tank. Or a tactical bomber in this case. Manifest Destiny. Unteroffizier Mulian K supported the train station at 0700 sharp, not a minute sooner or later, as was expected of a member of the Hare. All he carried with him was a suitcase and a rifle sleeve slung over his shoulder, his trusted weapon from the Great War offering a comforting presence as he filed in with the other changelings present. They were all soldiers, much like Merlin himself, but none wore their uniform. Today, they were civilians, in the loosest sense of the word. Lieutenant Filgry watched her soldiers naturally form themselves into their ranks before her, their hive instinct taking over as they approached the train in the station. Mulian watched her wings flitter as every ling found their place, and then she took to the air to hover in front of them. Instinct snapped Mulian to attention, just like all the other soldiers present, as Filgry addressed the crowd. "Loyal soldiers of the Hive," she proclaimed, raising her voice to be easily heard over the trains waiting in the station. "Today we set forth for the southeast, where the Hare has generously granted us all property of our own, to settle the barbaric wilderness of the equestrian frontier. Many of you certainly see this as a gift or an award, and while your service in the war earned you this land, it is not a gift given freely. We are soldiers of the Hare, first and foremost, and citizens of the hegemony second. We are not being given this land to put down our arms and grow fat off the love of the ponies. Rather, we have been given this land to police it and to control it. It is the belief of the High Command that only local settlements of experienced and hardened soldiers living amongst the pony communities can put an end to partisan activity, and so that is why you have all been granted land of your own. We are to build new communities and control the towns where we will now live, and together our efforts will secure the rule of our queen of Equestria. It is our destiny." Assembled soldiers cheered, and Mulan added his voice to the crowd. Then the whistles of the train blew, and that was the signal. The assembled soldiers began to file into the cars, one by one. Forward operating base. That's another thing entirely. I just need like one more point in that thing. Don't want to go for that. Military modernization. Requires all of the following. Yeah, it's a more long-term thing. Which got maximum sustainable amount of frontal medallion. I don't really need that. Train collection truppen then. This was actually the Germans' plan in Russia, by the way. The German plan for Russia was in essence to create massive fortified cities, essentially. These massive fortified cities would mostly be inhabited by the people who had served in and survived the conquest of Russia. These people would then eventually begin to rebuild society with themselves as the core. The countryside would still have, you know, Russians in it, but the Russians would have a very subservient role. The Russians would be there to produce things, to work in the mines, to work the fields. Oh, I question volunteers. And produce the raw material. The raw material, I covered this one last time, the raw material would then be dispatched into the cities. Refined love processing methodology. Okay, let's go for that. Into the cities, where it would be refined by the Germans. So basically the Germans would be the ones making, well, everything. They would be the ones making the bread. They would be the ones making the ultimate ratio. They would be the ones making the steel, the produce, the baskets, like everything that required refining, the Russians would be reliant upon the Germans to produce. Ultimate ratio. Queen Chrysalis enter the bunker, full dress uniform, and the whole 1 yard. Through the thicker glass and a miasma, the weapon, the ultimate weapon, dangled in the distance. The weapon that could end the war, vaporize cities, and yet it looked harmless. Just an egg-like metallic structure and nothing else. Queen Chrysalis walked up to a red switch with a skull decal over it and flicked it. Red lights began to glow in the bunker and outside. Flares of all colors shot up. The various drones scurried away quickly as instruments sputtered to life. Monitors and meters, every one of them. Only a few dozen drones remained as the weapons detonated and whirled up a magic storm. Purple lightning struck around the sites as the unlucky food drones were vaporized or thrown around like ragdolls. And yet the scientists spotted Queen Chrysalis with a smile on her face. Well, of course, she's a happy girl. She's a happy grill. Also, I feel like the Wingbardians, Biccolini is not doing as well as he should be. Clearly, we need to send him more Lend-Lease stuff. Right, would you like aircraft? I've got like loads of captured shit aircraft that you can have. Like, really, I have loads of captured shit aircraft you can have. Is there a hotkey for that one? No, it isn't. I wish there was an easier way to give away all of my superfluous shit. Just be like, give all. Not clear all, give all. Give absolutely every last tiny little bit of this random, useless, garbage, outdated tech that is clogging up my empire and its collection yards. Can't even turn it into scrap properly. Go, little dumb aircraft. Make Biccolini proud of your useless little hides. Alright, want some tanks too? You can have 800 Yak tanks. There you go. I don't know if that will benefit you in any way. BT-7? The BT-7 was actually a fine tank. The BT-5 was an exceptional tank for its time. Incredibly good speed in particular. Due largely, of course, due to the Chrysler suspension, which, incidentally, a Chrysler tried... Ooh, 205 comets. Okay, that'll help. Chrysler tried to sell the Chrysler suspension to America, but America at the time was like, we sell Amerikanskis. We We said no care about warfare. We said isolationist. We said never go and be superpower. We said dumb. And they turned it down, which was silly of them. Muzzle all dissent. I do like the sound of that. I don't know about the muzzle part. That sounds a little bit gay, but I like the quieting down of dissent. That one's good. Now that's still a little bit too far ahead in time. Oh, research, yes. You know you have to perform the rape of Canterlot, right? What? The Great Rape of Nanking? That was a myth invented by the Chinese to make the Japanese look bad. It wasn't. It really wasn't. But I like this line of thinking now, so I might adopt it fully. Okay, seize the question assets. The problem with free speech. The problem of free speech. It was midnight, but Vesopolis cared not for the arbitrary trivialities of day or night. Home to tens of millions of changelings, the Hive City never slept. And the hustle and bustle of commerce and industry continued deep into the early hours of the morning. And, by the way, I just remembered I need to keep spending my dumbass jet thingies. Fighter detection, air superiority mission... air superiority, obviously. Intercept mission, air attack. And missile engagement doctrine, miskills. Also, do we have modern? No, we don't, but we do have, yes, Marines and paratroopers, definitely. Do I have anything to spend my... Well, no, I do. Queen's Guard, right. That's already fully mechanized combat with 25. Shit. Damn, that's already kind of just exactly what I wanted to be. Panzer divisions. With the amount of shit I am now producing, there's going to be no problems with making those into mechanized. Magical mechanized as well. There you go, a bit more. The salon was full with the cream of changeling society, the twin allures of empire and profit overpowering any vestigial respect for circadian rhythm. Generalmajor Yachts jostled past wakeful stockbrokers attuned to Manhattan's schedule and military bureaucrats for whom the perpetual task of governing the hegemony demanded a constant vigilance. His destination was the saloon's back room, salons. A favorite haunt of VOP's functionaries from the Queen's Tower nearby. It was there that the great imperial nobody, Vaspir Orn Cladicium himself, held court amidst a pall of cigarette smoke and indistinct menace. Jesus. Oh, sorry, I don't need that anymore. Indistinct menace, I see. The meeting was already in full swing by the time Yax made his way to the table. On one side, the Queen's Guard, still wearing their ostentatious uniforms, even in the sweltering heat of the room. Opposite them were the VOP's representatives, all sneers and upturned snouts at ease in the security of their sanctum. Yax was one of the few hair personnel in attendance, their presence a formality. The Queen's Guard were the masters of the Pax Chrysalis, with the ascendant VOPs nipping at their heels. The hair were there to do their grunt work, whilst opaque power struggles played over their heads. Everyone present is poring over a densely written list, the names of ponies and their prescribed fates. They were teachers, scientists, intellectuals, politicians, and even noted magic users. Most were to be arrested and interned, others to be summarily executed and made examples of. A select few had the honor of being chosen for replacement, with changeling understudies already in training to assume their identities. The Queen's Guard and the VOPs bicker. Vaspir Orn Cladicium, speaking with a smooth, practiced ease, expounds the necessity for precision and delicacy in the stifling of dissent. Tumors are exercised with scalpels, not truncheons. Captain Lakincado, ethno-nationalist zealot and the Queen's enforcer-in-chief, calls for the wholesale suppression of the equestrian population through mass arrests and public executions. The argument, swelling in intensity, erodes the facade of civility between the two factions. Yax realized that his minuscule group of head officers will have to act as a tiebreaker, and fast, if the inter-service squabbling is to be prevented from erupting into violence and intestine bloodshed. Alright, that one, obviously, because again, we need to side against the Queen's Guard at every point, because the Queen's Guard are the bad guys, and they have been written as the blatant bad guys. Oh, consolidate the occupation, fucking finally. Okay. That's going to make things a little less awful, as it'll downgrade the utter chaos into something a tiny bit better. The bears just managed to defeat somebody. I think they did, remarkably enough, huh? Well, good job, bears, I guess. Whew, now we're going to be seizing equestrian assets, because why not? What is theirs is now mine, after all. The tab is so large it doesn't actually fit on screen. Easy, easy, don't break the thing. That machine is worth more than you, your wife, and all the grubs she made last spring. Finicus Vasale slapped a hoof against his forehead and grumbled as the idiot drones he'd brought out of the main Hive Industries factories in Sorith tried to drop a crystal enchanter into the back of a waiting flatbed truck with a crane. The delicate piece of industrial equipment designed to enhance the crystal receivers of equestrian magical weaponry, slammed hard against the bed of the truck as the crane operator let it down too quickly. A few bolts popped out of the base, rattling down the asphalt, and Finicus considered how lucky those drones were that he didn't have a pistol on his person at the moment. If he did, he'd shoot them all, and then probably himself. Hopefully the afterlife was managed by someone more competent than these louts. Turning around, Finicus went back to the tent he'd set up outside the magical weapons factory in occupied Winneapolis. Stepping out of the sun for a bit as CEO and president of the main Hive Industries, it was his duty and privilege to disassemble the equestrian factories that had been used against them during the Great War, and haul that expensive machinery back to Vesopolis for study. Though changeling science was quite obviously the best in the world, Doichu Kagaku Sekaiichi. The Equestrians had gone down several different paths of their own research and industry, and if there was anything that the ponies had learned from their bumbling buffoonery that could be benefiting the Hive, then he had to find out. One such thing that they were particularly adept in was the mass production of enhanced weaponry and supplies, both of which had been used to great effect against the Hare during the war. Hopefully, bringing the heavy machinery of his factory back to Vesopolis would help unlock a few of their production secrets. How much longer, Finicus? Another changeling in a suit asked him. An hour or two more and we should be finished, Finicus said, waving his hoof. Then we can get this packed up and brought back to Vesopolis for study. But Bales is nearby. Another bug on his industrial advisory committee said, "We have the trucks too. We could just rip out whatever they have there and bring it back with us. We should take it as reparations from the ponies." Finicus sighed and glared at the bug. Are you stupid or something? What can we possibly learn from a munitions factory? The only thing that those factories produced in bales were bullets, bombs, and shells. He glared at the changeling that had dared to speak up and leaned in over the table. We aren't pirates. We aren't lazy. We are the greatest innovators this planet have ever seen. Nothing is better than changeling science. That spirit of innovation led us to victory in the Great War. We are only bringing these factories back to Vesopolis because the ponies figured out something we don't know, and I want to learn from it rather than just steal it and pretend it's mine. Do you understand? Yeah, that makes sense. Technology, useful. Civilian factories, one civilian factory, is not really going to be a tremendous benefit to me at this point. I got a fair few of those already, and I will be getting a lot more once I finally manage to crush down the opposition. APCs, advanced Amtrex. Good, good. Seize their assets, Queen Arch. Seize them hard and fast. Ooh. You naughty girl, Benjamin. I presume you're a girl. Yes. We're going to make that assumption. I think it's a fair one. I've got 1.4 love. I've got 76 stability. More stability then. I might actually return to the point of, you know, positive stability at this rate, which is rather remarkable. The recovery racket. God. If I could just get suppress the resistance too, that would be nice. As that would reduce to widespread to sporadic chaos. Over a barrel. Please take all the time you need to look over the terms of the agreement, Mr. Rich. Ooh, compliance promotion. Nice. Okay, that's another point. Mr. Rich, I'm sure you'll find them acceptable. Richie Rich was a cartoon show back in the day, by the way. It wasn't very good, but it was kind of funny. Filthy Rich pulled... Filthy Rich? That's a pony name, I think. Pulled the terms of the loan closer to his seat, slided them across the desk of the Equestrian Reconstruction Agency's loan agent. It had taken him all of his willpower to even come into this building that morning, and he had swallowed his pride and readied himself to beg before the hooves of the changeling conquerors if he wanted to get the money he needed to keep his businesses afloat. The Equestrian government had borrowed heavily from him throughout the war to keep the economic function as the changelings drew closer and closer to Canterlot. But with the government now defunct, Filthy knew he would never see that money again. His only hope was to ask the Eyrie for money and pray that they wouldn't be too harsh on him. The terms of the loan discomforted him. However, Filthy had made, read, and signed countless legal and business contracts throughout his career. The legal jargon on the page in front of him had failed to confuse him in the slightest, but under the veneer of providing equestrian businesses with aid and support was the real mark of the parasite he was about to borrow from. His business would have to provide a special tax to the Era every quarter, and when he would have to put on Era supervisors on his board of directors for every 4 ponies on it. Any opportunities for investment he created would have to be disclosed to changeling investors 2 weeks before they could be made, publicly to pony investors, giving changelings a head start on selecting the best investment over their pony counterparts. Not only that, but no changeling that entered his employment could make less than 150% of the wages of a pony at a comparable position. Justice, sounds to me. And his workforce had to be composed of at least 30% changeling workers because of diversity clauses. Ah, progress, finally! It was plain and simple economic bullying, but Filthy Rich had no choice but to accept the conditions. He needed the money to keep his business afloat, and if his company failed, then the changelings would certainly take over this economic niche. And he knew the damn parasites didn't care at all for the ponies and the economy they least tried to feed themselves. If he could keep his business going, it would be better for ponies everywhere. That he knew for certain. Finally, at long last, diversity has come to Equestria. And I probably don't need quite as absurd a number of armored car productions anymore. Probably not quite as ridiculous a number. Alright, begin upgrading stuff then, and I'm gonna need more carriers. Do I want to wait for better carriers? Or not carriers, but cannon aircraft? Is there anything else I need to wait for? Not really. Somehow I think the airship airframes are a little bit outdated by now, so we won't worry about that too much. That 300% boost is kind of massively, enormously wasted, but oh well. Semi-modern carrier airframe. Alright, first we're gonna need a fighter, obviously, with improved cannons. Loads of improved cannons. Probably going to need 2 jet engines. We don't actually need extra fuel tanks here because, well... Yeah, 945 is... Yeah, that's fine. That's good. Is drop tanks better?
Heresy's the question.
Yeah, drop
Fire
tanks are
is the
better.
answer.
Electronics. Air to ground radar. Air ground radar. Air to air radar. We're on interception, night penalty. Interception is kind of pointless, though. That's the thing. Yeah, that's fine. Three, 3. Duckling. Yes, that makes sense. Because it's a carrier aircraft, yes. Carrier fighter. Save. Carrier frame. Rumleg623 just joined. Don't know how to feel about the eyes I'm being given. You should feel very happy about them. They are there for your benefit. Radio-guided anti-ship missile. Well, that sounds cute. Okay, that gives me a naval strike of 25, whereas the heavy torpedo, 22. Okay, well, obviously the radio-guided anti-ship missiles then. Can I only have one of them? I can only have one of them, okay. Do hard points help? Naval attack 6, okay, so... A couple of hard points and a couple of improved cannons, then. Drop tanks and... self-sealing fuel tanks. Right, is 1 jet engine enough? It is not. Alright, fine. 2 jet engines, then. Clab. Clab? Clab. Clab. It's just known as Clab, that's all. Right, ducklings. And clabs. Are going to need a fair few of you, but 2 single lines should honestly probably be enough. Can I do anything? Yeah, a little bit less small arms. Can't help but notice that my supply of aluminium is beginning to run quite painfully dry. Alright. Aluminium. Actually, hold on. Can't I just get you shits to trade me aluminium? Alright. Never mind, you two. Yeah, Nova Graphonia. Yeah, you guys owe me loads of this stuff. Yeah, I'll just... Why? I should have done that earlier. I should have, but I didn't. Entertainment. Oh no, a Neon. Narnian? I don't even know now. Narnian? English. Infantry equipment. Yes. We do need that. We do need better guns. We don't need that, actually. Nani? The recovery is rackets. Yes. Aiding recovering nations is always a racket. Remember that, chat. It is never something... not going from the love harvest. Okay, hopefully that'll give me another point.
Fire is the answer.
Point? No point? Oh. I need... 0 points. Made in Manhattan, Finicus Versalis toured the recovering industrial complex in Manhattan, where some of Equestria's largest factories had been situated before the Great War. Bombers and brutal fighting in the city had torn the complex to pieces, with scarcely any building still standing without signs of catastrophic damage. But that was starting to change. As part of the post-war reconstruction of the fallen equine nation, the hegemony had given its corporations and concerns almost free rein to claim land and rebuild the area as they saw fit. Alongside that, the hegemony had made the local population available against their will to the corporations to aid in the reconstruction, calling it a partnership between changelings and ponies in rebuilding the nation. What Finicus saw in Manhattan, however, was anything but. He had left the supervision of the main hive industrial involvement in the metropolis to a regional director, and the changeling had made ample use of the hegemony's offer. It seemed like almost every mare and stallion from the nearby boroughs had been dragged out of their homes and forced to perform the hard labor of clearing debris and hauling in new material at gunpoint, with hair soldiers and the company's own mercenaries stationed around the perimeter, as well as on the roof of nearby buildings. Slowdowns were not tolerated, and you could hear exhausted ponies pleading for a break in the labor, only to be whipped back to their work. Sometimes, quite literally. It didn't take a genius to realize that the ponies here were little more than slaves, disposable tools acquired by the hives to toil and rebuild the nation on a foundation of their bones, all for the benefit of the changeling lords lording over them. That sounds pretty good to me. Chewing on his lip, Finicus eventually only shook his head and walked away. Manhattan was under his direct jurisdiction, but perhaps a tactful, worded memo would get to the point across to the regional director that brutal conditions like these would no longer be tolerated in his company. What a nice little boy he is. He cares for those dumb little ponies. For some weird reason. He's probably a pony sympathizer. Right, 11, 8%, 96%, good God. Good God indeed. Hello, little zebra. I see you've come to become a guest of my prisons. Good for you. You will be treated extraordinarily harshly, if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, well, you really don't want to see what we do to the people we don't like. Right, continue to synthesize love via machinery. I don't know how with synthesize love via machinery, but we are doing it. Point. Ow. A symbiotic manifesto. Did that give me a point? I don't remember if that gave me a point. Dockyard output. We'll wait for that one. Ooh, bat ponies. Oh boy, okay, let's try that one. The times they are a changeling. General Oberst Stabsarts Marcillo took a moment to look up at the massive new love processing facility. Oh, I read these already. I don't need to read those events because I read those last time, thank God. Only random access memory. Ooh, RAM. Nice, we've got RAM. We've got RAM chips, everybody. That is genuinely a rather amazing discovery, actually. RAM chips. RAM chips, everyone. RAM. We have RAM now. Do you understand what this means? It's pretty kind of great, really. Okay, we're still waiting on the tank, so we don't need to rush that. RAM. 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 Imagine how amazing having RAM is. Without it, your computer would not be very good. Without it, your computer would, well, probably not be much more than a pocket calculator, if that. You should be glad that you have RAM, Chad. You should be thankful for the pony scientists that gave you RAM. Or was that, too, invented by black people? I don't remember. I have read that most things were invented by black people, including the computer and the bicycle. Which makes sense, that's why they steal so many of them. But tish. Don't cancel me, YouTube. Right, yes. Rockets. Rockets. And magical guns. Right. Right. More replacement rate of magical guns. 2 whole kilobytes of it. Yes, the leap of faith. I still don't know where that will lead me, but... The Queen's Own Thestral Rangers. Let's try that one. So this, I think, will give me special commando units of bat ponies. And you know what? I like the bat ponies. I quite like the bat ponies. The bat ponies are pretty kawaii, honestly. I think the bat ponies deserve more justice in Equestria. I really do. Marcello hesitated outside the door to the cafe. Oh yeah, that's... I read that one too. What did you just research? Good question. Was it anything useful? Maybe. Right, continue on the path of making modern AA. Don't bother, just started watching. Please tell me you have the 88th Changeling Siege Army. That is a good name, actually. I should have the 88th Changeling Siege Army. In fact, I will make that right now. Oh, but the third? The third has Gupa, yes. That is a good name for it. There you go. The 88th Changeling Siege Army under General Kitu Elder, who's a lovely lady, I'm sure. I don't know, but I'm sure.
Service guarantees citizenship.
She probably is. She looks decent enough, you know. She looks understanding. She looks like a bat pony of understanding and compassion. Yes. Bat ponies are good ponies. Speaking of, how's the war going over here? At a complete and utter stalemate, it seems. At a complete and utter stalemate. What's this? Do Omega Commando? I'm not going to go, so look, this is no dispatcher to Fortman Meadow. I don't know what that is. Oh, and by the way, in case you were unaware, yes, there are further lore blurbs in the game itself. Like, every location in the game has a lore blurb attached to it. I am not joking when I said that they made fucking books in this game. I mean, somebody really liked his ponies and simply just sat down one day to write and never stopped. It appears like he never stopped writing. He just continued writing for an infinity amount of time. How's resistance now? 8%? Okay, that's a lot better. Maybe I could risk removing it down to commissariats now. Look at that little cutie little bat pony. Look at him. He's adorable. Okay, there probably aren't any more points to get over here, so... Triumph for the Hive, 6th Grade Hive, Executioner Empire. Yeah, let's get that one, and then we'll do the Cantalottian one at the last. The Night Jägers, Nachtjäger. Queen's Guard Captain Lakin Cardo shifted uncomfortably in his seat as he awaited the arrival of his queen. The great queen had seen fit to summon him along with all other generals and staff of high command to her tower to discuss a matter of great importance. What that matter was, however, the queen hadn't said in her summons. Finally, Queen Chrysalis entered the room, causing Lakin and the other changelings to stand up and bow before her. "My queen," Lakin said, rising from his bow, "how may we be of service?" "I need a new bodyguard unit," Chrysalis said, pacing in front of them. "I need a unit of Thestrals to be added to my detail." The request took Lakin aback, and he furrowed his brow as he tried to process it. "Thestrals, my queen? May I ask why?" Speaking of, I do need to expand the Queen's Guard, so let's do that. We'll put it in Neigh Falls. Because Celestia was never able to gain their loyalty, Chrysalis stated, "Having a company of bats as my elite night guard will provide the ponies of Equestria will prove that I am better than both of their princesses because I will have the loyalty of ponies and Thestrals alike." Unnoticed by Chrysalis, the rest of High Command shared wary looks. "It's a good thought, my queen," Lakin began, carefully feeling his way forward. "But the Thestrals... There's only one creature in the world that they will ever be loyal to, and that is their Night Princess. They broke with Equestria to side with her 1,000 years ago, and in the millennia since, they've only ever been loyal to her. Even as generations after generation was born, lived and died, while she was still trapped on the moon. They are too ingrained in their devotion to Luna to ever be loyal to anyone else. And who can blame them? Luna does have a wonderful flank. They will be loyal to me. They want true queen before long," Chrysalis insisted. "When they see that I have a loyal company of bat ponies in my guard detail, then they will realize that I am the mare they should worship, not that dream-walking lunatic." Robleg623, "I've played the Dawnclaw Heresy, and rest assured, the writing is just as good as the rest of the mod. I hope there's less of it. I hope there's less of it. Griffin Mercenaries. It's always a bad idea to do what Chrysalis wants, but I like bat ponies. They're cute, and they've got a little purple color palette, and they're adorkable. Right. We're forming a division of elite Knight of Bat Ponies to guard the Queen. Help me. Do they have Bat Pony models? Do they? No, they're just changelings. Okay, that's unfortunate. I'm sure nothing terrible will happen. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that they assassinate Chrysalis, and you know what? At this point, I am beginning to warm to the idea of perhaps putting Chrysalis out of her misery. Perhaps then everybody else could get something done around here. Perhaps. Also, start building a large number of naval yards. Damn, I've only got so many coastal provinces, don't I? Alright, 50. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I'll take these out of the running then. Ah, boy. Okay, Chrysalis, I hope you're good at surviving assassination attempts, because you're gonna have to be. You're going to dodge. You're going to need to dodge. Don't worry, I believe in you, Chrysalis. I believe you can get out of the way of your elite guards' traitorous bullets when they inevitably come for you. Fuel gain from refineries. Yep, I like that. Good luck, Chrysalis. You're going to need it. A lot. Ah, the vermin must be stamped right out. Well, who could have seen that one coming, eh? Who could have seen that one coming indeed? An explosion shaking the Queen's Tower roused Captain Cardo from his rest. His first thought as Queen Guard's captain would focus on protecting his liege, and his instinct, honed from years of duty, made him collect the pistol he kept in his nightstand and dart out in the hallway in seconds. He could hear gunfire coming from the throne room, even as he tried to collect his bearings. But whatever this attack was, it was coordinated, and a coordinated attack on the Queen's Tower could only mean one thing: assassination. Lakin wasted no time in sprinting to the throne room, where he witnessed a detachment of the Queen's Guard engaging in a brutal firefight with the newly created Night Jaegers. The bats using the weaponry that had been given to try and push their way through the Queen's bodyguard. Reflex sent Laxian diving towards the cover at the side of the room, and not a moment too soon, as bullets pockmarked the wall he'd been standing next to just a second earlier. Chambering the first round of his pistol, Lakin barred his fangs and poked his head out of cover, quickly sighting in and dispatching 2 Thestrals approaching his position with 2 rounds to each of their necks. Ducking back into cover, he took the time to look around and assess the situation. The Queen's Guard still held the advantageous position in the throne room, and more were rallying to the fight from throughout the tower, but the Thestrals had numbers and the element of surprise. He knew from creating and assigning garrisons that it would take 5 minutes for Panzer Grenadiers around the tower to organize and respond to the attack. That meant he only had to keep the Queen safe for a few minutes longer before the Thestrals would be outnumbered and crushed by reinforcements. Of course, that was easier said than done when he saw Queen Chrysalis herself step into the throne room, horn glowing with magic, as she took in the carnage around her. What is the meaning of this? Lakin tackled her to the ground before she could finish her question, a hail of bullets ripping through the air around them. Chrysalis grunted and bared her teeth, indignant at being so brusquely knocked aside by a subordinate, but a furious scowl from Lassin silenced her. "Stay down! Get out!" he shouted at her. "It's you they're after! Go, we'll cover you!" Something in Lassin's voice dissolved any argument the Queen might otherwise have had, and she scampered out of the room as Lassin and the rest of her bodyguards fell back to provide cover. Imagine that. The Great Queen speaks. Whilst she's busy surviving an assassination attempt. Fuck, even I'm kind of impressed with that, honestly. You're trying to make me do math again. I don't like it. I don't like it. The Night Jaegers crushed. The Panzer Grenadiers arrived in a timely manner, just as Lachusen had hoped, and the addition of regular troops and armor quickly turned the tide of the fight. The brutal fighting left numerous changeling dead or wounded, and Thestrals fighting in a defiant last stand in the name of their princess were decimated almost to the very last. That's not what decimation means. Those that weren't slain in the fighting only survived because their wounds left them too injured to continue fighting, and these survivors were soon rounded up by the hair and dragged outside to sit in the courtyard until the Queen decided what to do with them. Captain Cardo sat against the wall in the throne room drinking a cup of coffee some Ling had given to him, while the hare emptied the room of the bodies of both the bats and changelings alike. His hooves still shook from the fighting, and he doubted he'd get much sleep the rest of the night. If he could get his hooves on the necks of the Thestral officers who organized the revolt, he'd tear their heads from their bodies just for ruining his night's sleep. Oh, the things he would do to those downed bats. It wasn't long before Chrysalis herself made her way back to the throne room, a little shaken up but uninjured thanks to the swift action of Lakin's hoof-picked bodyguards. Now, however, Captain Cordo had no energy left in him to stick to formalities when addressing his queen. The survivors are in the courtyard below. What do you want to do with them? Chrysalis' angry scowl. "Kill them all," she said, "except for the officers. I want them subjected to the cruelest punishment you can think of. Nobody betrays me and gets away with it." Is it really treason if they were never really loyal to you to begin with? Lakin wondered aloud. Chrysalis glared, "And what did you just say?" "Nothing, my queen. Go back to bed. Let me clean up this mess you made." Okay, well, at least she holds a nice speech, you know. That's nice. That's nice. Right, well, that was predictable. But hey, bat ponies are cute, okay? They're cute little bat ponies. It makes me want to play a Nightmare Moon playthrough, because then I could have bat ponies and I could have them be loyal to me instead of trying to assassinate me, which I would significantly prefer, honestly. I would like for the cute little bat ponies to bend their little knees and accept me as their queen, without me needing to exterminate vast quantities of them. That would be the ideal. But that is not the world in which we live, as it turns out. Oh, good. I can get even bigger in even better battle boats. I could get even bigger, even better batter boats. Would I like even bigger, even better batter boats? I mean, it's something to spend naval research on, I suppose. The pony in the changeling hive. Glorify the hair. The pony in the changeling hive. Cloud Chaser made sure she was up and awake before anybody else in the large estate. She moved from her bed in one small corner of the house to the sink in the other and combed out her messy mane. Yes, presentable for the day. Once that was done and her teeth were clean, the Pegasus slipped into her suit and shrugged her wings through the slits in the back, just as she had always did every morning. The mare spread her wings in the front of the mirror and frowned where the tapper of her feather ended in a blunt and stubby end. With her wings clipped as they were, she struggled to fly further than 20 or 30 meters in a single bound. Ah, that's mean. But that was part of her agreement with Herr Kada. She was his bodyguard, supposed to stay close by his side when touring Equestria, not flying away and leaving him behind. Tucking her pistol into its holster with her chopped feathers, Cloud Chaser left her bedroom and started her morning routine of walking around the perimeter of Herr Kada's estate. The changeling industrialist had amassed a fortune of providing material for war with Equestria, and the bug had put it to good use by erecting a massive manor on his 100-acre plot of land, and bringing in ponies as indentured servants to maintain it for him. Cloud Chaser paused by the window, looking out over the garden, where earth ponies laboring in leaden horseshoes tended to the plants, the extra weights around their hooves making sure they wouldn't get very far if they broke their contract and ran. Further out in the driveway, a pair of unicorns tended to Herr Halter's unique automobile, their coats covered in grease and the chips on their ends of their weakened horns flaring up ever so often. All the ponies on Herr Kada's estate had been granted to the changelings by the hegemony in recognition for the service he provided to the hives during the war, and Cloud Chaser, an ex-soldier who had fought in the Great War, had been bound to his service for 10 years to atone for her crimes of standing up to the bugs on the battlefield. It was humiliating and degrading, but at least she had things better than the earth ponies or the unicorns on the estate. And given what she'd heard about the changeling POW camps, it was certainly better than the alternatives, so she'd carry on just as she always had. Only 9 years, 10 months, and 17 days left to go. And this, by the way, proves that yes, learned helplessness is absolutely a thing. The majority of individuals will not choose death or freedom. The majority of individuals will simply choose to live. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. Silly little video game mod creators. How can you not understand such an obvious thing? I do need to start working on amphibious tractors, in addition to all of the other million things I gotta work on here. Semi-modern rocket artillery, yep, continue. Well, I am losing manpower, but I am losing it at what I'd say was a pretty slow pace now. So I'm picking up. Okay, military. I'd rather not take that until... See, I'd prefer to take... It's too far off, isn't it? Must been forward operating bases. Fine, we'll go for it. I need points. I have no idea where the remaining like subjugation points are. War films and chill. High Marshal Schimmel took a moment to straighten his cap, flatten out the shoulders of his uniform, and regard himself in his pocket mirror before letting the Queen know he was ready for her. Once he was sure his appearance was impeccable, the Supreme Commander of the Royal Changeling Hair wheeled over a projector and pointed it at a blank screen, making sure the film roll was in place as the Queen entered, grinning from ear to ear. Trimmel bowed low for Queen Chrysalis, his horn almost scraping the floor. "Good afternoon, my great Queen," he purred. "I trust the day is treating you well?" "Every day treats me well now that Celestia is gone and Equestria is mine," Chrysalis sharply responded. "What is this that you have me here for? Some kind of film?" Not just any film, Your Majesty, Trimble said, standing upright and politely gesturing for Chrysalis to take a seat. I know that as much as you want to be present on the front lines during the Great War, such an idea was too dangerous to execute. However, I have made sure to have changelings recording scenes live from the front lines as we pushed into Equestria. He turned on the projector with a hoof and drew the curtain close to shroud the room in enough darkness to watch the film. I have a feeling you will enjoy this very much. Oh, Trimble wants to impregnate... Yes. Are you going to make me read the pony fanfiction? I don't know if I want to read the pony. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. Field Marshal Frenzy. Trimble made sure to keep one eye on Queen Chrysalis as the film played before them. The changelings he'd hired to document the war in all its glory had truly lived up to their expensive price tag. Sweeping shots of shell-crated battlefields, burning equestrian flags, long lines of pony POWs, and the gutted remains of equestrian tanks greeted the two changelings one after the other, while bombastic fanfare played over it all. A massive grin adorned Chrysalis's muscle, and she even let out a cheer and a giggle as a platoon of Jaegers dynamite a massive golden sun hanging over an archway leading into the Canterlot Castle. It was just as Trimble had hoped. She was greatly enjoying the film. So, my queen, Trimble began, sensing that Chrysalis was in a jovial enough mood to be breedable to what he was about to ask her. I have been thinking lately about the state of the hair. The Great War was truly our greatest achievement. I think the film speaks to that. But now I need to talk to you about what comes after. After? Chrysalis absent-mindedly asked, but her focus immediately shifted back to an equestrian battleship's keel breaking in two as a volley of torpedoes ripped through the hull, with scores of pony sailors falling off the decks and into the oil fire burning on top of the water. Yes, after, Trimble said. See, the Hare's task now is larger than ever before. We need more resources, more changelings, more competent officers to operate at peak effectiveness. I was hoping, my queen, that you would be able to provide them in forms of countless breeding children. More officers? Chrysalis asked, her attention only catching the last thing. Trimble said, yes, sure. She looked over her shoulder to where a page stood in the back of the room, always ready to receive orders from the Queen. Have all the generals in the Hare promoted to field marshals, she said, dismissively waving her hoof. That should be a reward enough for it. Trimble blinked in surprise as the page bowed and stepped away, and Chrysalis turned her attention back to the film. Every general? He murmured to himself, horror slowly manifesting as the magnitude of Chrysalis' order dawned on him. Oh no. Well... You really shouldn't have tried to breed Chrysalis. It was a terrible decision. Anarchy in the Hare. High Marshal Trimble slammed the phone back down on his desk and fumed, leaning way back into his chair. Ever since Chrysalis had decided to promote every general to Field Marshal because she thought that was what Trimble wanted, the Hare had been in a state of anarchy and confusion. Suddenly there were too many high commanders and not enough subordinates directly under them, and that made figuring out the chain of command from the top to the bottom almost impossible. Trimble had started working overtime to find suitable candidates to race up to generals and re-establish some semblance of structure back into the Hare. But he knew his efforts were still a stopgap at most, but for the time being, the changelings he was promoting weren't always the best or the most deserving, but they would at least hold things over for now. But worst of all, even worse than the chaos in the Hare, was that all the new field marshals suddenly had louder voices and bigger platforms to share their opinions from. All of the clutter at the highest rank of the Hare meant that Trimble's own voice had diminished in turn. He was still the hegemony's hive marshal, its one and only, but where there before had only been a couple of field marshals below him, there were now many, many more, and all that chatter was making his own voice harder to hear. Frustrated, Trimble pulled a sheet of paper over and began to scribble an order onto it. All I need to do is create a few worthless ranks between me and the field marshals, and everything will be back to normal, he thought. It was a truly brilliant idea, one that would declutter the higher ranks of the Hare and give him his all-important influence back. So long as the marshals were pushed further down the chain of command, then they wouldn't be able to compete with his authority anymore. Grinning, High Marshal Trimble pulled a bottle of Stallion Gradient vodka out of his drawer in his desk, pulled off the cap, and took several deep swigs straight from the source. Trimble, you bastard. You're a genius. I don't know about that. I do not know about that. Well, we have succeeded in increasing the size of our command system. Mostly with now pointless make-do, made-up roles, but hey, it's something, and I dare you to say that it isn't something, because it is something. I assure you, it's definitely something. Military modernization. I just want that one. Oh my god. What? What? That didn't have a pop-up? That... what? You lazy little cuckolds! You lazy little shit. Are you telling me that one of these doesn't have a fucking 5-page lore blurb? Oh, you lazy mod makers, you lazy mod makers. How dare you? How dare you treat the game with such a lack of respect? God. I've lost all respect for this mod now. God, imagine that. An event without a 5-page pop-up. What on God's good earth is the world coming to? What, another one? 2 in a row? My heavens. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of actually advancing, you know, the lines a little bit. Love synthesize? Yep, continue to synthesize that love. Ah, there we go, yes. I figured it had been a little bit too long since we had one of these. I wanna get to this. I wanna get to this one to see if that finally gives me the points to be liberated. The Lebensraum Generalplan. Generalmajor Jax ducked into the diner off the corner of Main Street, his ears still ringing from the parade he passed by. Queen Chrysalis had returned to Cantelos, and of course he had ordered another parade to be thrown to herald her return to the city. Thankfully, Jax had been able to dump planning off on Oberstleutnant Alkip, who had already had a filing cabinet full of all the preparations the city would need to make every time the Queen returned to bask in and obsess over a triumph over Equestria. Jax had more important things to do than entertain his queen's ego. Anyway, like keep her damned country from falling apart. Thankfully, the changeling Jax was looking for was already seated in the diner. General Stabsoberst Marsillo watched the parade through the window with idle interest, and he slowly turned his gaze to the east as the Generalmajor sat down across from him. Generalmajor, Marsillo said with a nod, I trust you are doing well. As well as I usually am, Jax said with a shrug. I'll survive. Now, what did we need to go over again? The information of a 6th Great Hive, Marsillo said, opening his briefcase and laying a folder full of notes out in front of Jax for him to peruse. As I am sure you will be acutely aware, there are cities near the old border that were heavily colonized by changelings prior to the Great War. Our Great Queen wants us to take that a step further and select one to focus our efforts on. My team and I have winnowed our choices down to the cities of Aikenage and Van Hoover. Both have a large changeling population and with a little more effort could be colonized to become ethnically changeling. Ooh. Well, wouldn't that be fun and engaging? The catch is that Van Hoover and Aikenage are 2 very different cities. Marsillo said, Aikenage is a smaller city, but a city nonetheless. It has a large changeling population, but that's already fairly integrated into the city, or rather it was before the war, but was displaced by the Polish citizens living there as the war dragged on and on. Despite the fact that we swiftly occupied it near the beginning of hostilities, it's spread out with ample room to build up, and I've heard the climate is temperate and tolerable. It would be an ideal place to build a new hive. Then why is Van Hoover on the table? Jask asked, raising an eyebrow. Well, Van Hoover is one of Equestria's largest cities, Marsillo explained. It has a massive naval complex that makes it incredibly valuable to our navy. It is also the most prestigious of the 2 cities. Imagine if we could convert Van Hoover, an equestrian stronghold, into a 6th Great Hive. But Marsillo's enthusiasm quickly wavered. However, it is not as simple as that. The changeling population there is larger than Aikenage, yes, but it is smaller percentage-wise. It is also less integrated into communities than the changeling in Aikenage. large. Most changelings live in the enclave and communities surrounding the city rather than the city itself. Integrating it could prove challenging and expensive. Considering the sheer number of ponies living in it, making it an ethnically challenging city could prove difficult a task for us. However, these are our lands to control as you see fit. Chrysalis has entrusted you with that duty, not me nor my team. So before I can begin anything, I need your approval and your decision. I mean, as always. So, virtually all of these, there's basically one that's a trap and one that's good. And, I mean, Van Hove would make an incredible 6th hive. It would be a crown jewel of the hegemony. Was Van Hove, but... Well, Akernet is the safe choice. And so far, every time I have tried to take a non-safe choice, I've pretty much been punished for it. So, Naval Hive, I would take the risk. Chat gets to decide. Van Hove or Neverthon or Aikenage. There you go, chat. Ooh. Well, that's not useful, is it? It requires more garrison, but that's fine. Yes, maintain those. Right, 63% want Van Hove. Okay. That's a pretty big lead for Van Hove right there. 62. Van Hove, it looks like then. Alright. Van Hove would make an incredible 6th hive. Chat has spoken, and chat will get what chat wants. 564 advanced large airframe strategic bombers now. Good, good. How you doing? Still basically a complete and utter stalemate. Boy, there's just not a lot happening over there, is there? Jet aircraft carrier, that does sound like fun. Well, I don't know what's there though. Sadly, the Dread League has yet to do anything, which annoys me and pisses me off and makes me a little bit sad and upset. All upsetty spaghetti. Sixth Great Hive, which finally leads us then to Executors or Empire of Empire. I'm a little bit worried about that. It's deeply behind Carthaginian line, sound like that. The colonization of Van Hove, and thus it is only fitting that Van Hove becomes the newest of the hegemony's crown jewels. Chrysalis grinned from ear to ear as Lykitis, the executive in charge of the Wohnungsabteilung, clicked through the last slide of his presentation. I like it, she said, leaning forward and clopping her hooves together. Clopping! Van Hove shall be the 6th Great Hive of the hegemony. What an impressive way to twist the knife in those blasted princesses' wounds and forcing them to watch from afar as we turn one of their greatest pony cities into a sprawling and modern hive. It will be like ushering in a new era, an era of the Queen. Chrysalis caught loft to herself a little more, then lazily lounged back on her throne. So then, when can we start? I don't like the idea that Chrysalis is enjoying this. Your Majesty, one of the royal advisors, interjected before Lycidas could respond. Vancouver is a massive pony metropolis. The changeling enclaves that live around it before the war are on the fringes of the city's borders, thoroughly marginalized by its pony populace. We would have exports so many pony leave so many the streets of the city level, and then the cost of moving changeling cost, and rebuilding the city. I don't know if we could reasonably support such an operation. Well, you will figure it out, Chrysalis snapped back at him, a harsh frown gripping her features. Vancouver will be the next grave hive. It will be done. There's no room for argument. Then she turned her attention back to Lycolis. Make it happen. Nice and simple. She's very direct in her instructions, she is. Very, very clear, very concise. Doesn't mix words or anything nonsensical like that. She knows what she wants, and she's going to get it. Because she's the Quen. Simple as. And hey, is that not reason enough in and of itself? I think it probably is reason enough in and of itself myself. I think it is a wonderful reason that she is Quen. And Quen gets what Quen wants. Advanced homing torpedoes. Continue on the battleships first. As right now we're still only making destroyers. Speaking of, I've probably got enough destroyers for an intermittent fleet. Yes, I've got. Okay, good. Might as well let these two finish as well. There. That should be more than enough for a inter-war fleet. Plenty, 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 plenty. Executors of Empire. That's a good name. I like it. I feel like I have so little political power. Oh boy, are the ponies upset again? Why are the ponies upset again? I don't understand why the ponies are always so fucking upset with me. Still no point, huh? God damn it. Regional Commissariat. We're gonna have to go with the Regional Commissariat soon, aren't we? Oh boy. I don't like it, but we've exhausted everything else, so Regional Commissariat is probably going to have to be. War never changes. The cries of protest were deafening. The woefully undermanned battalion tasked with holding the crowd back from storming the Plaza of the Sun struggled to keep their fury contained. Generalmajor Yux grimaced as he saw the cause of the crowd's ire hauled up to the gallows, erected in the plaza. A young pony couple, each no more than 25 or 26-year-old, cried and feebly fought back against the executioners as the nooses were fitted round their necks. The executioners read their crimes to the crowd, that of harboring a resistance agents in their home for a few days, before the platform of the two stood on collapsed as the pull of a lever. The crowd gasped as the two ponies fell with one last frightened cry, and somewhere an older mare started weeping. They're getting rowdy, Obus Lieutenant Alkipi uncomfortably noted. Pointing to the crowd, we should disperse them. Yes, Yax duly said. He vaguely gesticulated with a hoof. Use tear gas, that should be enough to get them to scatter. Arrest those that don't run. Sippy wordlessly nodded and disappeared from the gallery, and within minutes clouds of smoke began to rise among the protesters as ponies cried out and began to flee. Yax passively watched it all, numb to the cries and wails. It seemed like in no time at all the chaos and misery attracted the changeling Yax least wanted to see. Queen's Guard Captain Lakin Cardo sat down in the gallery next to Yax, grinning from ear to ear as the soldiers dragged the ponies out into the plaza and forced them to kneel at the end of the rifle barrels. Lovely day, isn't it? Lakin said. I just love listening to those pathetic equines bleat like sheep. Nothing gets me more ready for a long day of enforcing the Queen's peace. Hem. Still no points. I hate you. Cruelties by the number. Tear gas is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Lassin remarked, gesturing to the obvious pain that past gassed ponies were in. Just a whiff of it in your eyes or muzzle, and you can't do anything for half an hour. Plus, it doesn't just kill ponies outright like mustard gas. Leaves plenty of opportunities to kick a few things out of them, or just enjoy the killing yourself. I'm thinking about appropriating it for the hair. Our artillery corps could gas hundreds of square kilometers in a short barrage with the right shells. Tear gas is dishonorable, Axe protested. You know that, Lakin. Do we care? Do we care about that? I don't know if we care about that. I don't know if we care about that. In fact, I'm pretty sure we don't care about that. What, mission? Hunt to kill a submarine? Okay, whatever that is. Who cares about honor? We're the champions of Equestria. What are you, getting a conscience now? What matters in war isn't how clean you keep your hooves. What matters is how fast you win and how many of them you kill. And if you're fighting ponies, how much fun you have doing it. Yax watched the ponies being loaded into trucks in front of him, the effect of the tear gas finally beginning to wear off. They had been defeated, but they'd hardly been broken. The gas attack only seemed to remind them that their only option was to revolt or die trying. They couldn't keep living under the brutalities of the changeling inflicted on them every day. Sooner or later, Equestria would come to a breaking point, and there would be nothing the Hare could do to hold on to an entire nation in the revolt. He wondered if he'd get a war tribunal at the end of it all to assess his guilt in terrorizing the ponies of Canterlot, or if he'd be lynched from the castle's tallest flagpole when Canterlot finally fell. This guy is a real defeatist. You have an coroner, you have an urgent mission. Do I? These? 75% number. I don't even know what that means. Required garrison is plus 75%. Okay, is that not in place? I mean, I can't click on it. Yeah, I don't know what the game wants for me. Occupation policy?
Service guarantees citizenship.
Something has gone terribly wrong. We no longer control Vancouver. I don't see what that... I mean, I can't click it. There's nothing to click here. Required garrison plus 75%. Localized gain, yes. Local 75. Yeah, that's just the effect that it's doing. Add more garrison. I can't add more garrison. I mean, I'm already going martial law. There really isn't a whole lot more garrison to add. I can move units there, but I'm pretty sure that's not how the video game works. I can move dudes over there. Yeah, that's just a timer. I don't think that's a decision. Like, there's nothing to click here, chat. There is nothing to click here, chat. This is not something I can interact with. There is that one, but that's for a separate thing, I'm pretty sure. And I can't get that regardless because it needs resistance to be less than 20% in Vancouver. Or, let's see, does it unlock... Nope. It doesn't. Like, there ain't nothing to click here, chat. There ain't nothing to click here. See, I am clicking all I can. There is nothing to click here. I'm pretty sure I can't add more garrison either. Because I'm already at martial law. Build a special garrison. There is no such thing as a special garrison unit, chat. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a special garrison unit. And assign a spy there. I think you have no idea what you're talking about, chat. I think you're just making noise now. Alright, I can assign... I'm pretty sure I already have a spy actually there. Yeah, I do. I already have a spy there, chat. There's already a spy there, but now we've got 2 spies there. Well, only more at least. Jax watched the ponies being loaded and tracked. Erstein started up, wanting to put as much distance between Yakin and himself as he could. Do what you like, Lakin, he muttered. I'm not interested in fighting you over this. He could have stopped the Queen's Guard captain, he realized. He had enough leverage with the Hare and Queen Chrysalis herself to block Lakin's plan, if he just tried hard enough. But what was the point? Nothing would change. The ponies would still rise up, and eventually every officer in the Hare would be dead, punished for their crimes. Dax had already let things get this far out of hoof. There was a little more cruelty at the end of the day. The only thing in Jack's mind as he returned to his officer was the bottle of vodka. He pulled it out, broke the seal, putting the bottle directly to his lip. Maybe if he was lucky, the vodka would kill him before the ponies did. I don't know about that, boy. I think you're being awfully defeatist here. Okay, chat, what are you? You could assign unit templates as garrison. It's already assigned, chat. It assigns them automatically. Literally, occupied territories. It assigns all of them with Feldgeneralries. All of them. All of these are already assigned. All of them have a garrison. The garrison right there is 1.33 divisions. Okay. Required garrison 75%. Okay. Plus 75%. Let's see if anything gives me plus 75%. Van Hoover. Martial law. Brutal oppression, I suppose. Brutal oppression. No compliance gain, yes. Recruited population 75%. Weak population no states 5,000. Okay, I think that's the only one that gives me that much. That is 75% brutal oppression. Brutal oppression. Even then, that's only 25 plus garrison. Rain-Tedder, Rumble stream never started, so 10 towards the Nightmare Moon playthrough. Did this thing not start? That's annoying. I changed the garrison unit template. I don't think that does stuff, chat. I am 98% sure you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. I will change it, not like I don't have any excess. Because all it does is it just reduces the amount of stuff you need. Here, I'll show you. Feldgeneralmarie, what is it? Feld. Right, so this is the unit, which will duplicate it. It's got 13.2 suppression. That is the per pony power suppression. I can add in more infantry. That will increase the suppression, but the total suppression remains the same. Right here, I'll just put in a massive amount of them. Yeah, look at that. Suppression is now 39.6. Is that enough for you, chat? There, I'll make that. Copy. And is it at the bottom? Copy. So you see there, pony power per procession, 277. Whereas if we go to the top of the Feldgeneralmarie, where is it? 227 per pony power. See? It is the exact same suppression. Simply adding on more units does not change the suppression at all. Having more ponies in the unit does literally nothing. 227, 227. See? Here, I'll put it in there. Let's see, does that unlock anything? It does not. Let's see about the suppression. 12.3. 11 is going down, at least because of the brutal suppression that we're using on it. No compliance gain, yes. Recruitable population, 75%. It's better policy. Martial law. I don't have martial law. God damn it, chat. This is why I shouldn't listen to you, because you don't listen to yourself, chat. God damn it. The martial law is in the rest of the nation. I've put brutal oppression here now, which is the only one. And there's still no change in the suggestion, chat. This is like when Chow was like, you need 800 strategic bombers for the thing. It's like, no. No, you don't. Apparently you only need tactical bombers and fighters, because, chat is weird. Van Hoover face riots. Ooh, good. Rioting. And the colonization will be delayed by 10 events, and the garrison requirement will be increased by 200%. Yeah, see, this is the thing. This is the colonization or the thing improvement. And I will happily increase that. That's fine. Though I imagine that's going to keep firing a lot, probably. A real lot, in all due likelihood. Go to Canterlot. The hard crystal gives you super progression power. Alright, there's Canterlot. Deploy that one to Canterlot? Stu Mega Commando to Canterlot? Okay. I don't know what that does, but I'm sure it does something. The hard crystal gives you super suppression powers. The hard crystal, I don't think. You're probably throwing stuff at me from old versions of this game or something. Van Hoover is impossible to turn into a hive, says the internet. Change your law for that state specifically to a special law. See, now you're going all over the place. No, the special sort of thing is for this. That's commissariat. And yes, I am going to change it over to commissariat now, because now I need to go down that other tree, which is the only remaining tree to me. Which is a bit unfortunate, because the commissariat law is not as good. Do I need to put it everywhere? Regional commissariat. Okay, so I don't. Good. Canterlot shall be... average compliance of all Equestria core stays under above 30%. Okay, so I can't put that... Okay, because... Probably... Is it because of the ever-free forest? Is it because of the ever-free forest that I can't put it there? Let's see. Occupied territories. Right, Equestria. The average under score is below 30%. The average compliance of all Equestria score stats under control is above 30%. What? I'm presuming it's because of this. Okay. Right, Castle of the Two Sisters. Yeah, we'll even move in the big ones, and we will do brutal oppression. Minus 75. Brutal oppression. Copy of Felgenraunis. Are there any more provinces? I'll press that one too, because it's a little bit high. Ponyville is a little bit high. Summerdale. And the rest appear fine. We'll see if that'll be enough. And maybe we just stack up at least 2 of them there, although that is going to have diminishing effects, of course. Diminishing effects. Right, what else we need now? Afterburners? No, we're not afterburners, but anti-missile stuff, we can't get that yet. All of that is done with. We've got these. Get to work on the MBTs, get to work on the super heavies. Yeah, there's no cavalry. Everybody's a pony. They're all cavalry. They are all cavalry, chat. All of them. All of them are cavalry, chat. All of them are cavalry. And they do have slightly higher suppression than regular units, than regular infantry. A little bit. A little bit. True attack submarine. Well, that would be fun, but sadly, I do not have the ability to make true attack submarines. Not yet. Not yet, at least. Right. It's above. Okay, so no, it's compliance. It's compliance that needs to be above 30%. Okay, okay, that's a different thing. Compliance, huh? Compliance. See, that's the bitch bastard, because that means I'm going to have to do... Oh boy, compliance. That is going to be kind of awful. Oh boy, compliance, compliance. Compliance grows very, very slowly. Very, 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 very slowly. Martial law then will not work well. We can try secret police. I can try secret police. Alright, secret police. That is going to see the average resistance increase by a ridiculous amount. Like, they're gonna shoot up everywhere. But if I have to have 30% compliance, then I don't really have a choice. Oh god, that is gonna be basically impossible, I'm pretty sure. Unless I simply just wait for an incredibly long amount of time. Current occupation loan catalog is Regional Commissariat. Yes, Regional Commissariat. Regional Commissariat. The average compliance of all Equestrian core states under your control is above 30%, which means that blue bar. Compliant gross is 0.019. That is kind of terrible. Population growth, research, recruit, stability. Keep... How much I have? 1.3. Dispatch, terminate Cantalot. Cantalot resistance minus 3%. For 9 days. Okay. I mean, that's kind of nice. Only decreases the resistance, though, which is, again... Secret police. Boy. The worst part is I've actually had the infiltration units as well pre-war, and they didn't really do anything, which is a little bit sad. Okay, you probably will not actually be that useful. Nor will you. Chat's being retarded. Remove those and replace them somewhere else. Like up there. Okay, maybe that will give me points, because what I need now is points. I need the points. The points is what I need. The points is what I'm not getting, because if I get 2 more points, they must be behind that. So you should have just probably suffered through it for longer, earlier, just sitting there getting, well, super heavy battleships. Getting raped because, yeah, the increase in disorder is going to be pretty terrible. A boring budgeting meeting. So the colonization will be suspended and they will just like restart every time, I guess. Will be suspended. Yes. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a way to do that because there isn't anything to do there. I mean, it was... What, or was it failed because it went over 30%? Hold on, that might have been it. Let me check. Because I think that one mentioned something, oh hey, cheat menu. With a little picture of Twilight Sparkle as well, isn't that adorable? What was it? Let me check. Colonization. Requirements will fail. One of the forms we do something's gone terribly wrong. We're no longer control. Okay, no, so there isn't even like a breakaway. It's just something has gone terribly wrong. Okay. For shits and giggles, let's put up brutal oppression to keep that low. More production. Doom, 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 doom. Anything going to happen? Dum da dum dum dum. Anything? Yes. Yeah, that fires regardless. That fires regardless, chat. You're wrong, chat. It's as simple as that. I'm sorry, but it's a simple countdown. There's no way for me to interact with it. The deploy garrison thing it isn't a garrison thing. It's just the effect of the decision. High compliance also naturally roots out resistance. Yeah, but it also means that you have higher resistance. See, it was 75, it required 75%, right? And they were like, increase the garrison to 75%. It's now 275% because of the previous thing. Those are for Vancouver for 234 days. Those are not requirements, chat. Those are simply just what the province is currently doing. And the only fail action is, one of the following must be true, something has gone terribly wrong. We no longer control Vancouver. We control Vancouver. I'm pretty sure I can move as many dudes in there as, it went, and nothing is going to happen with it. There. I'll have even more dudes in there, and all the garrison. Let's see if it changes something. Being stuck here, but without getting that thing. Oh, let's wait. Can I get some? Yes, I can use that one now. The Love Harvest. Oh, definitely not that one. Autonomy in subjects, no. I want that. Army training, construction, resistance suppression. Yes, let's keep that running. And there it goes. Yep, no, it's just something goes wrong. It's apparently just a trap. It is apparently just a straight-up trap, and if you trip it, well, shit. You don't get to colonize Vancouver, seems to be it. Like, chat, you can't build additional colonies. You can't, chat. Calm down, chat. Oh, chat is angry because chat is very, very wrong. You can't because it requires compliance. Oh, silly chat. Get higher suppression, trucks cause attacks, keep some spy. It's not about the suppression, chat. It has nothing to do with the suppression. It has absolutely nothing to do with the suppression either. Again, suppression is 13%. That's it. It's been higher. And it's on the highest level of suppression. Silly chat. Chat, you're retarded. There are 2 spies there. You're just being a little bit retarded, and that is entirely normal for you. Being a little bit retarded for chat is entirely normal. But I have been reading now for far too many hours. For far too many hours. And I need a break. Until next time, chat. Have a very good night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your generous donations and for being so thoroughly and completely and utterly wrong. Continuously and repeatedly. Have a good night, chat.